What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Monday that kicks off the season, so to say, with Media Day. We had a bunch of interviews today. We're going to go over all of them. This was also the day in which players did a lot of stuff that you'll end up seeing on TV and whatnot. So Media Day is a big ordeal for them. And for fans, it's always fun. As diehard Blazer fans, I'm not sure the casual Blazer fans were really paying much attention today, but for us diehard Blazer fans, it was fun to tune in and listen to interviews, hear what Dame thought after what was a tumultuous offseason if you paid attention to guys like Henry Abbott. And we're going to go over him, we're going to go over Chauncey, we're going to go over Olshey, who didn't cause a firestorm today somehow. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think that was possible. You still had a few complainers, but overall, it was a pretty boring press conference from Neil Olshey, which is a good thing. So we'll talk about that. We'll just go in chronological order. Eric, how was your day? What were your takeaways from Media Day? And yeah.
I thought it was very positive. The players all seemed happy. Like you said, there wasn't any kind of standout thing you could really say, oh, this is terrible, like, why did he say that, or whatever. Like, there was no real negative parts to it. A couple times, I think some people tried to make it go a negative route, and it got shut down pretty quickly. But yeah, I think overall, I'm pretty happy with the way it worked out, and it has me pumped for the season, man.
Yeah, it was. After some of the previous press conferences this summer, it was a good thing that it was kind of boring at times. And it was very insightful. So there was a lot of insightful stuff that was entertaining for me. But, I mean, there was nothing where people were freaking out about something. You know, yeah. I was worried, like, oh, what if Dame phrases something a certain way and isn't happy enough when he says it? People are going to say he's unhappy and spin that into some whole big ordeal. You know how some of this fan base gets. So I was worried about that. I was worried about Neil Olshey saying something with too much of a smile or too much of a smirk. Or, you know what I mean? Like... There's
or giving his water bottle signal to some
and thank goodness he didn't have a water bottle on the table. So overall, it was a pretty enjoyable day, more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be going in. It was cool to go join KGW's stream, which the audio was much better on that one than it was elsewhere. And
shout out to those of you who are watching right now that were also chatting with us in there. There was a ton of regulars. It turned into a Blazers Uprise chat.
Yeah, that was cool to have a bunch of you guys in that KGW stream and to be able to like sit with you guys in a YouTube live stream chat and be on your side of things for once, which was kind of a new experience for me and pretty fun. So that was enjoyable. And shout out Apples for the $3 Australian dono. He says Nance is very humble. We'll get into him after we get into Olshey. Chris McGowan talked today, so I guess we can touch upon him. And then Chauncey. We're just going to do everything in chronological order. So I already saw questions about certain players. We will get to every player that talked today. Unfortunately, Tony Snell, Ben McLemore, Greg Brown, CJ Ellaby didn't talk today. I was kind of surprised by that. I thought every player that was on the actual roster, like on a guaranteed contract, would talk, but it was only 9 players.
Well, I think you saw with like the Nas and Ant interviews, they almost got cut off after a couple of questions, and people had to kind of come up with some stuff on the fly to ask them, which is kind of sad. If you're showing up for Media Day, man, you should have a question prepared for every player. So
you should have two or three questions prepared for every player, man. I mean, I'm not gonna think up questions on the spot, but I could have easily prepared 3 questions for every player going in. Nobody asked Dame about his abdominal situation, which he played through an ab injury during the Olympics. It wasn't reported until after the Olympics, but Shams reported it, and nobody asked Dame how that was doing. I'm assuming it's fine, but considering it was something that he had to have evaluated only less than 2 months ago, and it's our franchise star player. Seems like that was maybe a question that should have been asked. And then as far as the other guys, it was kind of disappointing how few questions a guy like Nas got, a guy like Ant got. So yeah, I mean, I wish I was there. I wish you were there to ask questions. That would have been pretty cool. There would have been some good questions. I did listen to some player interviews on Rip City Radio because Travis and Chad did some interviews, and I just gotta give them credit. They give good interviews, and you can tell the players enjoy talking to them. So I gotta give them credit where it's due. I listened to the Dame interview, and he said something very insightful in that. I tweeted it out. If you don't follow me, at ToryJonesYT is the Twitter handle. Eric's is at HoopsJock, channel at Blazers Uprise YT. You should definitely be following all three of those on Twitter. I tweeted it out, so some of you guys know what I'm talking about, but for those of you who don't, there was something that me and you have said in the past that we'll get to when we're discussing Dame, and it was just kind of cool to hear Dame kind of come out agreeing with the thoughts we had on a certain subject. So I'm just going to leave that as a teaser to make sure all you guys stay, and we'll get into that when Dame is up.
Gee, just about everyone today echoed a lot of the stuff we've been saying for years.
It's kind of surreal.
That's going to be a theme of the day for us, right?
Yeah, and we'll talk about that a lot with Chauncey. So, Eric, you said you have some quotes, or do you just
took notes?
Took notes.
Some of them are quotes, so some are just kind of paraphrasing what they said.
Yeah. So Eric is well prepared. So we're just going to go through things. Is there anything else you want to say before we just kick off this breakdown and dive in deep here?
No, I think we should just get right into Olshey here.
Yeah, let's get into Olshey. What was your thoughts on Neil Olshey?
Well, let's just start right out the bat with the Hyken question about I think he phrased it in if he could expand more on the search process and what all they did before they hired Chauncey. And let me just say, I think the question was fair. I knew that was going to come from Hyken. That was no surprise there. But this is what happens when you didn't just answer the questions to begin with. If you would have just answered them at the introductory press conference and gotten it out of the way, then you can say that. So I agree that Olshey shouldn't have had to do that today or answer any of those questions. And if Hyken continues this all season, that's going to be super annoying, and he'll probably get his credentials stripped at some point if he keeps doing that. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with the question now. I mean, one-time follow-up type of thing. But yeah, I also agree with Olshey that it's not the time or place to answer it either.
Yeah, I didn't even want to talk on that because I don't think it's that important. But I don't know. See, I did. Mm-hmm. My thought process isn't quite the same as yours. It's like, Olshey's not going to answer that question.
Right.
You 100%.
Well, he's just trying to get points for answering it. Well,
that's the problem I have with it is he is trying to pander to his base of followers, and you have people on Twitter saying, keep doing the Lord's work or stuff like that. You know what I mean? So he's trying to pander to those people, and he knows Olshey isn't going to answer it, but it's almost like he wants it to be a point that Olshey didn't answer it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Saying, who's ducking the question?
Like, there was no, 100%, he 100% knew he wasn't getting an answer, but he still asked it for his own reasons. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that part was just, I mean, it's not a big deal, whatever. I'm not saying, I'm not saying it's like he did something horrible or whatever. It just irked me a bit because that he knew he wasn't getting an answer on that, but still wanted to make it a point to ask it.
Yeah. Like I said, this could have all been shut down because, what would he do if they would have just answered all the questions?
I bet you he would have asked again.
But then you can say, Sean, dude, we sat there and you gave us all your questions. We answered every single one, man. Let's just move on because, we gave you the opportunity to ask that question. So And I think that would be way better right now, in my opinion.
I think he would have found something that they didn't address enough during, even if they tried to go through everything about it, he would have like found something, nitpick something like,
well, of course, but
that they didn't expand on enough, just so he could ask a question related to it.
I mean, he looks petty from like people who don't care about that stuff's point of view, like people like you that were annoyed by it. But like, he looks really petty if he's continuing to bring it up after Olshey does. So it would look really bad.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm not being fair enough to him. It's just like, I just feel like he's asking a question that he knows he's not going to get the answer to, and he's asking it for his own reasons. So that's the part that was kind of annoying to me. Hopefully he can move on. I can't remember the last time I heard a basketball question from him. I don't know if he realizes he's covering the game of basketball. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Here's the thing with the interviews today. There wasn't enough basketball-related questions. We have a brand new coach who's talking about using these players in new ways, and there was questions kind of like related to that, but there were so many opportunities for in-depth basketball questions that would have been super insightful when talking to basketball players, and instead it's like a minute and a half after talking to Nas, or 2 minutes into talking to Nas, and nobody has any more questions. He has said he lost 12 pounds in the offseason and feels more explosive, and nobody even went into that, if I recall correctly. So it's just a sort of situation.
About his shape now.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't come away from this like with like, the media. But the more I think of it, my feelings are, the media. So, and Norm shares my sentiment.
So, obviously we haven't gotten anyone else, but so Heiken didn't ask Billups about it. Like, what, is he scared there or something? Like, I'd have more respect for him if he just came out and asked Billups. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird that he only asked Olshey and McGowan the question.
It's just silly. Like, I don't even really want to talk about this too much more. I don't know if you were going to touch on this next, but the best thing I think we heard from Media Day was that every player and staff member is vaccinated.
Yes. And Casey Holdall expanded on this because people were asking, what does basketball staff mean? Because Olshey's answer said 100% of the players and the entire basketball staff are vaxxed.
Basketball staff. That's
important.
Yeah.
So Holdall said basically everyone at the practice facility, everyone that works for the team, it was basically required to get a vaccination, or the premise was that you would likely not have a job if you refuse. So
wait, so that applied to the players too? Like,
I don't think that applied to the players, but as we talked about before, I think there's a reason why they targeted certain people and not others in free agency and in trades, because I think they wanted to make sure that everyone on the team was going to do it, and they didn't have a problem child on it.
And honestly, at this point, I'd rather have CJ McCollum than Bradley Beal. So, I mean, I'm happy to hear that, Like, I'm not in here. There's probably somebody watching this that is unvaccinated, and while I think they should get vaccinated, I'm not here to argue with anybody in chat about, vax versus anti-vax or anything. That's not what this platform is really for. I'll encourage it on Twitter and whatnot, but overall, like, just vaccinations are good. I'm not even going to really get into the how or the why or any of that argument. I just think that's something that everybody should do. And to hear it from Olshey in a question that I felt like, when the question was being asked, it was a question about how have all the players been vaccinated. When it was being asked, I'm like, it would be Olshey-ish to kind of like dance around this question a little bit. You know what I mean?
Several other GMs and owners did today.
There's been a bunch because almost every other team has somebody who's not vaccinated. So when Olshey came out and said, yes, every player is vaccinated and the whole basketball staff, just directly like to the point, yes, it was, I don't know, it kind of excited me, because here's the thing, even if you're out there and you're anti-vax, it's better for the team, Because if you catch COVID, or even if you don't catch COVID, the rules are different for anti-vax players than they are for vaccinated players. So it's better for the team regardless of how you feel on it, just because of the rules put in place by the NBA. So that's just good news for the team. Makes there pretty much be, I don't know, like the chance of an outbreak is much lower, especially, Dame's around a lot of people. He said all the people around him are vaccinated. It seems like this is something that the team is taking seriously. So I think that was awesome. And props to Olshey for valuing that and probably targeting certain players that were vaccinated. Because there was all the uproar about Chauncey Billups and his old allegation thing and all that. But Olshey's consistently done a good job of getting good people into the organization and valuing character, right? And that just kind of goes along with it. The fact that we have everybody vaccinated and the fact that he made it it sounds like he made it a requirement for the staff and wanted a roster of fully vaccinated players, props to him for that.
Well, also, we heard Dame say like he wanted to get it as soon as it was available, and that he wanted to bring his family members and stuff, and whether you're for or against the rights to get the shot, or if you're forcing it, mandating all that stuff, it's pretty much guaranteed now that if there is a COVID problem in the NBA this year, it's not going to be because of the Blazers players and staff. And I think that's something to be proud of, whether you agree with it or not, if you don't want to take it personally, whatever. But knowing that our team did everything they could to ensure the safety of the community and for their season to not have any hiccups, potentially, I think is nothing but a positive thing. And if you want to try to paint that as negative, I think you're just being miserable.
Yeah. Yep. So that was the best thing I heard all day.
Yep.
What else? What other tidbits did you get from Olshey's interview?
Well, he flat out came out and said that him and Dame get along great, and that they communicate all the time, and that there's never been an issue with that. So.
And here's the thing. I had somebody try and tell me, oh, well, what else is he going to say? That's more substantial than anything I've seen to the contrary.
Right.
I haven't seen anything other than people's own wild speculation to the contrary.
And that's another theme of today. Contradictions to what all these, I don't know. I don't want to, like, call them a name or anything, but, like, the group of reporters who always have some sort of angle or narrative they're trying to spin that seems mostly made up when you look at the facts. Like Dame requesting a trade, Olshey and Jody fighting internally, all that stuff. The team's for sale. Jody doesn't care about the Blazers at all.
McGowan struck that down today.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But, like, every single one of these has been shot down by the people who actually know and are in the know. So, like, it's just, I mean, I'll just flat out say it. The people are making up stuff to get clicks, and it's kind of pathetic that they have to resort to making stuff up to try and prove their narrative, and that's how you know their ideas are kind of crap, because they don't have anything to base it on if they're not making it up or spinning stuff in a negative way.
I mean, I just think it's bias, I don't even know if it's like them purposely trying to spin things a certain way, or if they're so biased that they end up thinking along with their bias. You know what I mean? You had a lot of people that loved Terry Stotts, and if you listen to the players today, you would come away thinking, wow, these guys really didn't like Stotts at the end of last season, especially Yusuf Nurkic, but even Dame wasn't really able to speak on Chauncey when that whole firestorm was happening, but we'll get into some of his comments. The guys seem to appreciate the coaching change and be happy with the coaching change and be encouraged by the coaching change and think it's a good change, right? But you have a lot of people that liked Stotts that report on the team, and they like Stotts more than they like Olshey. So I don't know. Like, people can disagree with this assessment all they want. It is my personal belief that a lot of media members have been reporting along their bias this summer. And there is so much that I heard today and that I've seen throughout the summer that has confirmed those beliefs. Nothing has really spoken to the contrary. And people will mix up the difference and say, see, this national media member thinks we didn't have a great offseason, as if that's what I'm talking about. That is not what I'm talking about. It has never been what I'm talking about. A national media member thinking we had a mediocre offseason is completely different than having a local media member who preferred Stotts compared to Olshey, and they don't like Olshey. And they think the problem is with the roster and there's no problems with the coaching. That's a completely different thing than a national media member sleeping on us or thinking we didn't have a great offseason.
Well, I mean, more so than any of the themes I've already mentioned, the theme of today was accountability and communication. And Olshey came out and said, Stotts was a great guy. He did a lot of great things, got us to the playoffs 8 years in a row, all that kind of stuff. People kind of danced around specifically calling out Stotts. But there's a reason why every single player on that podium today, and Olshey, and even Billups from his observations of what's been wrong in the past, all basically said that communication is different now and better, and that players know what to expect. They know that they're going to be held accountable and all that kind of stuff. And it's things we've been saying needs to happen for years, and Stotts was not doing. And when you're in this situation with Stotts, like I said, he's a nice guy. You're never going to be like mad at him or like fully against him until it goes like super south, like with his relationship with Nurk seems to have just gone off the deep end towards the end of last season. But when you're in that situation like Dame and CJ, they're not going to notice how much they've been blinded by this guy not doing these things and not paying attention to the details and not changing things up and not holding them accountable the way they need to be held accountable. And they just, based on what everyone said today, they absolutely made the right decision by moving on from Stotts, and he was not the right coach for this team.
Yep, I agree. So
and
what other takeaways do you have?
So Olshey also said Dame wants winning to be important to everyone. So whether that's the team, the roster, the coaching staff, the front office, he wants everyone to be in on it. And Olshey said he wouldn't be doing this. He wouldn't be a GM if he wasn't competitive and didn't want to win. So that once again puts to bed the narrative that he's just trying to get fired for some reason. We heard that over the summer. Like, that's just so dumb. Like, Olshey doesn't care about winning. He just wants to get fired. And Olshey wants to build around CJ. He's trying to make Dame mad or whatever. That's all made up bullcrap, man. And this guy wants to win. He's not trading CJ just to be like, I don't want to be better or anything. I don't want to make a trade. He's not doing that. He's just, the guy wants to win, and he wants to win with Dame. And I just don't see any reason to ever say otherwise, as long as he's the GM.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man, because that was a narrative that we heard this offseason about how he'd rather trade Dame than CJ because CJ was more so his draft pick and stuff like that. And that kind of goes back into the whole bias that I'm talking about, where people are trying to craft narratives based on no substance that goes against Olshey. I mean, I am not the biggest fan of Olshey. I don't think he's some elite GM, but if I feel like things are unfair or make no sense, I'm going to analyze them as such, and I'm going to talk about them as such, and I'm not in a position, I don't think I'm in a position with anybody in this organization where I completely let my bias judge. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm not in a position with anybody in this franchise where my bias clouds my judgment, right? So it was a situation this offseason where you had a lot of narratives like that. Like, he wants to keep CJ for his own ego or for his own pride, man. Quick, I mean, we can talk about this in a little bit, but Quick dropped something in his article today that said that the Blazers were interested in trading CJ McCollum for Ben Simmons, essentially, in a 1-for-1 swap, which is far less than what the 76ers want for Ben Simmons, but something like that, a guy like Quick who's plugged into the team, I will trust him more than some of the people on Twitter trying to say that Olshey will never trade CJ because his ego won't allow it, man. There's just been so many narratives this offseason that I'm so happy to finally move past, and that's kind of what this stream is just a situation where we can finally move past all these ridiculous narratives and look ahead and look forward to basketball. But I mean, it's just so funny today to kind of think about some of the things that were said this summer and then hear some of the stuff that happened.
And we'll get to it when we get to Dame, but he had an interesting quote about not making a trade just to make a trade, basically. So, and let's just say this for the record. No one is a Neil Olshey stan, okay? No one is out here just... I mean, I'm a Dame stan. That's about as close to someone I would ever have bias for. That guy, I mean... I'm 42 years old. That's my favorite Blazer. I never thought a Blazer, later on in my life would ever surpass any of the ones from the late 80s, early 90s teams that I watched growing up and got me to love basketball. But Dame surpassed all of those guys, easily. Yeah. So I will go to war for that guy any day. That guy is amazing.
Here's the thing, though. You'll still say if he's playing terrible defense, you'll still point it out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but
and you have.
But what I'm saying is, I don't set out each day to be like, oh, how can I paint Neil Olshey in a great light today? What do I have to spin to make him look good today? I just say what's on my mind. I think he gets too much criticism. I think I've said this many times. I would be mad too if I was Olshey after this last season, because I would have felt like I made a good move for Rocco and the defense didn't improve. I signed a Derrick Jones, who the season before was, I think, top 5 in the league in perimeter 3-point defense. You make a huge trade for Norman Powell at the deadline. You bring in a really quality backup center in Enes Kanter, and you do all this stuff, and it didn't make a dang bit of difference. We played the exact same way. Didn't try to change anything after media day 1 year ago today, or I guess it wasn't 1 year ago because the season was later, but you know what I mean. One season ago, Neil Olshey and Terry Stotts sat on that podium and said they had to change things. They had to have different schemes. They had to do different things, and Stotts just gave up on that. He didn't do that. He resorted right back to all the things that got them to the point where they couldn't get over the hump to begin with. And if I'm Olshey and I feel like I made moves to not be in that position again going forward in the offseason of 2020, and I'm sitting there after losing in the first round to the Denver Nuggets, and I'm having to deal with questions about how I didn't give Dame enough talent and all this stuff, I'd be mad too. I'd be like, dude, what the heck? Stotts didn't do anything. He was supposed to do all these things, and he didn't even try the things he promised me he'd tell them. So I think going back, I think Olshey, if he could go back in a time machine, I think he would fire Stotts sooner, and I think we would not be in this position we are in right now.
Yeah, and I mean, he should have. He should have, and it was a mistake of his not to. I guess that's something to criticize him for. But, I mean, it's just funny how the narrative going into the season, they never do anything for Dame. They haven't done enough. But in the past calendar year, Eric, at the forward spots, we have added Robert Covington, Larry Nance Jr., and Norman Powell. And also re-signed Norman Powell on a really good deal. I mean... think about a year ago. Yeah, and the next year you guys are adding Larry Nance Jr., Robert Covington, and Norman Powell. I mean, round of applause, right? I think in the past year he has been a really good GM. Pulled off the trade for Rocco, pulled off at this point, I think it's a steal of a trade for Norman Powell, and then pulled off a great trade with sending out Derrick Jones Jr. in a first-round pick for Larry Nance Jr. And it was funny because 3 days before that trade happened, I was just sitting there with my fingers crossed, please, Olshey, just trade Derrick Jones Jr. in a first-round pick for Larry Nance Jr. I think I said that on a stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just sitting there please, and then he did it. I mean, we're going to see. He has basically put us in a position where it's outside of going out and getting a star forward, not a Ben Simmons star, outside of going out and getting a Pascal Siakam or better at one of the forward spots, he's done everything that he can do in the past year to give this Dame, CJ, and Nurkic pairing the best chance to win. He has gotten what I think is a great coach, and he has gotten 3 phenomenal forwards next to them. 3 phenomenal forwards that aren't, star level. They're no Pascal Siakam, but they're still guys that defend, bring energy. They're good guys. They can all shoot the ball. Larry Nance Jr. can be that playmaking forward that everybody said we were desperate for. I mean, Larry Nance Jr. and Robert Covington are 2 of the best defensive forwards in the league. In terms of off-ball, they might be 2 top 5 defensive forwards in the league. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Larry Nance Jr. was leading the league in steals before he got hurt last season. It's just, he's done a phenomenal job with the forwards he's added, and it's just funny, the narrative going into this season. So I'm excited. I think he's done a good job in the past year, and people will say otherwise that don't like him, and they can have their opinion. But my opinion is that he's done a good job in the past year.
Yeah, I think he's done a phenomenal job since Paul Allen passed away. And whether that's just because the opportunities had presented themselves as the 2016 contracts became expiring or whatever, or whether or not that was because he was more free to make basketball decisions without having to have another brain also have to decide whether that's a good trade or have his own opinions thrown into the mix or whatever. But I mean, if you just go back, I mean, all the moves he's made since then, whether it be trading for Hood that season, signing Cantor off the buyout market, I feel like re-signing Hood that next summer was the right move, and Hood was proving that before he got hurt. And there's no real, I mean, you can't really factor that in to anything good or bad, because Hood was playing amazing before he got hurt, shooting 50% from 3 and all that kind of stuff. So I felt like the Whiteside trade was the right move to get that contract, not only to have a big expiring contract to trade at the deadline, but to have someone that was good enough to get for just Mo Harkless and Myers Leonard without attaching any assets, but also could help bridge the gap until Nurk gets back. And then unfortunately Nurk has a setback and isn't back by the trade deadline, and so we can't trade Whiteside. And I still think that was a misstep there. But for those that think I'm an Olshey stan, I go watch that stream from that trade deadline day. I sat here for 4 hours just lacing into Olshey. So I don't have some sort of vendetta to praise him or but so, and then
it's crazy how that's where things have gotten with us, and some people don't see the stuff that is said about us, or what are you guys talking about? I don't know any of this. I don't relate to this. I don't blame you if you're like that. Maybe you're not on Twitter, but I mean, this is just kind of the talk that surrounds us. Is that somehow we are Olshey fans?
And then you go into last summer and you get Rocco, you get Derrick Jones. You pledge to have different schemes. You get Cantor for cheap. You get Melo on a minimum contract. I mean, those were decent moves. We had a solid rotation.
Yeah, the pairing of Melo and Cantor to me is one part where I'm like, that looking back at last offseason, that I think was a mistake. But who knows who we could have gotten instead. And also with a guy like Terry Stotts, I mean, you gave him a good third string center in Harry Giles, in my opinion, and Stotts didn't utilize him. So, and then when Giles did play, the system did not work for him. I feel like Giles would have been a lot better on this year's team, but that's, not a point that I really want to touch on a whole lot today. Yeah, I mean, he's been really good in my opinion the past year. You think he's been really good for longer, and I don't even necessarily disagree with that. It's a situation where a lot of people have just resigned themselves to trade CJ for a star or bust. And then they view Ben Simmons as a star, so they want Ben Simmons for CJ. And only until that happens, they'll be happy. Like, they're not going to be happy until CJ is off this roster and we have a Ben Simmons or a Pascal Siakam on our roster. And I would love to trade CJ for Pascal Siakam, but I still think this roster is better than it gets credit for. And I still think Olshey has done a better job, especially in the past year, than he gets credit for. So that's one of my takeaways from today.
And for those that don't like Olshey, I mean, if this team does not have a good year, let's say we make the play-in game and lose or something, and then don't end up making the playoffs or whatever, I think Olshey's gone. So, he blamed it on Stotts, which it comes off as an apologist for Olshey because we agree with that. We think Stotts was the problem. And then, he brings in Billups over, the part of the fan base wanting, to go with a selection that would have made us the first to do it, that kind of stuff. So he brought in his guy right from the beginning. He had he was never going to consider anyone else. So after all this, it's on him now. I mean, he has his coach. He has his roster that he defended. So he can't kick the can down the road anymore. Yeah. So, and I think he knows that. And I think if this isn't going to work out, he for sure will make a big move this season if they have to. And whether that has to happen or not is yet to be seen. But I'm like you. I think this roster is still better than anyone really thinks it is.
Yeah. We need to move along here. Yeah. Was there any other quotes by him that you really wanted to touch upon? Any other takeaways?
Andrew Miller just had a $10 dono.
Shout out Andrew Miller. What's up, Andrew Miller? Thanks for the $10 dono.
He's good.
Yeah, I'll read it. Was that guy trying to get reaction from Rocco about offensive touches? Like, does everyone not know Rocco's role? From his own mouth, he focuses on defense. Just curious about your guys' take. I mean, we'll talk about Rocco. We want to go through everybody chronological, so I will.
We'll bring that back up. Yeah.
Well, I'll answer that question when we start talking about Rocco. That'll be the first thing we talk about when we get to Rocco. Andrew, I appreciate your $10 dono, man.
Last thing on Neil. He says he never will be receptive to moving Dame unless Dame no longer wants to be here.
Hey, but he would rather trade Dame than CJ.
Yeah. But people make it seem like he's trying to get Dame to get to that point, I guess. But
yeah. So that's just kind of ridiculous. You ready to move on to McGowan, which was a surprise appearance today?
Yeah, well, I guess we can go to McGowan next. Technically, it was Billups second.
Was it Billups next?
Yeah.
Let's just talk about McGowan because I feel like his was kind of shorter and part of the front office. I didn't really watch his interview. I wasn't too interested in what McGowan had to say. So I also got to go take care of something. I'll be back in a minute if you want to jump into McGowan.
Okay, so you won't hear any of this then.
I will listen on my phone. All right.
All right. So Sean Hyken asked him a question about the process of the coach hiring and if he is comfortable with that. And McGowan answered the question by saying that he's been around Chauncey a lot this summer and that he's a really good guy, and that he just kept repeating that. Kind of avoided the question, which I think was fair from both sides once again. He did mention that they are going to have full capacity this year, and they're trying to do that. Streaming options, he says there will be updates. As of right now, obviously, they're on Root Sports and signed a deal with Fubo TV. But he said there will be updates coming soon with more information or more other things that could possibly be streaming services. He said that Jody is super involved. She's super competitive. She pushes the front office to be better. She wants to win. basically everything against what people say about Jody. If you listen to us, you know that that's what we've been telling you guys all along, that Jody is actually involved. She does push and want results. And he said that the team is not for sale. She has no plans of selling the team. She has not done anything to inquire about selling the team. She has bought in to this franchise. She wants to own the team as of now. And so I think that's a very positive thing that he said, and kind of shoots down a lot of the rumors that she's just been looking to sell and doesn't care about basketball and all that stuff. And on a personal note, I've been to several games. I have the privilege of my mom having season tickets up in the 300 level. And so she lets me go with her to a lot of games. And every single game I have ever gone to, she has been there. She has been actively rooting for the team, has been a part of it, talks to the players. CJ and Ennis in particular, she has, from what I've seen, a really good relationship with. And I think, just go back and watch some of the videos of her during our Western Conference Finals run. She was totally into it, and she was like just as happy in that locker room after beating Denver than all the players were. And I just I've never seen her in a situation where I was like, she's not into this, she looks bored or whatever. She's like always cheering and stuff. So I've never gotten the impression that she's even like not a fan or anything. I think she has become a fan. Maybe she wasn't when she first got the team, but I think she's learned to love basketball and love the Blazers. And I think she wants to win not only for herself and what that would do for the franchise, but for the legacy of her brother and all that.
Yeah, I just don't get the narrative, because it's like people assume that because she wasn't super invested when Paul owned the team, that she can't become super invested once she's the owner of the team. You know what I mean? It's like, she wasn't super invested when Paul owned the team, and then she got the team and like wasn't super invested from day one. So therefore she's not invested and wants to sell the team, and or just doesn't care and yada yada. Why can't she, she inherits the team. Why can't it be something where it's like she never really gave it a shot, but now that she owns the team, she like wants to give it a shot as an owner and see if she can become emotionally invested in the team. And then when she gave it a shot, it became a situation where she was emotionally invested in the team. Like, why is that such a far-fetched thing that like some people act like that's not even possible? Because it's like nobody even gives that a chance for that to be the case. And I don't understand that part of it.
People are saying, so Aaron Man says she's not into it like Steve Ballmer into it. And David says until Jody gets a fine like Cuban, she's not invested and doesn't care. Well, like, those guys are crazy over the top. Like, there's not that many owners that are like those two.
Yeah.
Like down on the court,
they're the outliers.
And stuff. Yeah,
they're the outliers, not the rule. And I don't think I'd want Jody to act like Steven Ballmer, man. Or I don't know if I'd want her to be as outspoken as Mark Cuban. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those guys, but they're unique personalities, all right? And I don't know. I those are probably just jokes, but they're kind of funny jokes, because now I'm imagining Jody Allen acting like Steve Ballmer courtside. But let's be honest. I would probably act like Steve Ballmer courtside.
Oh yeah.
I would be a phenomenal owner, though, in my opinion. But
you would meddle. I would too. I mean, it'd be so hard not to.
See, but I feel like we'd meddle in a good way. We'd
well,
hire a GM. See, I would hire you as a GM. Like, here's the thing: if I was an owner and you were my GM, I'm not saying I would hire you as a GM, like realistically, but somebody that thinks about basketball the way you do. You would be my co-owner, or not my co-owner. You'd oversee, help me oversee things, man. I mean, there are a lot of things. Like, here's the thing: is people are like, you guys should be GM, or yeah, because we know the CBA super well and we know players super well. But there's a lot more that goes into being a GM of a team that people don't realize, where it's just whole running the operations part of it, and there's just a lot of stuff to deal with. But like if I was the owner and I meddled, but I had somebody that like you that thought about the game the way you do, Eric, then I think it would be fine. You know what I mean? Because we agree enough where it wouldn't be a problem. And we're like, if you disagreed with me, I would trust you and be like, okay, here, you don't like this player for these reasons. Like, you know what I mean? It would be a productive thing, not a clashing thing. So I feel like there's some owners that can meddle with their GM as long as they have the right GM owner pairing. It can work and it can actually be better. And then there's some owners that meddle and don't have the right GM. It just ends up being a clash.
How would you get along with Daryl Morey?
I wouldn't hire Daryl Morey. Yeah. See, I'd be like, dude, we gotta trade Ben Simmons now. We have to get something. He doesn't want to be here. This is getting worse by the day. And he would probably sit there and say to me, you know how bad I'll look if I trade Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum? I would look horrible. That would be a stain on my legacy. So I don't agree. If you're making me trade Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum, I'm going to quit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That might be far-fetched, but I could see that being the thought process of a guy like a Daryl Morey at this point. So I would not want a guy like that as my GM.
Well, you bring up an interesting point because he would quit on the spot if you forced him to make a move that he didn't want to move, right?
Yeah.
He's the type of guy that would, right? Yet, when he ruins a franchise like Houston by trading Chris Paul and picks for Russell Westbrook, the narrative is that he was forced by his owner to make that trade or whatever, when that's not. Morey would have quit on the spot if that happened.
Yeah. So... Yeah, that's a great point. Should have never traded Chris Paul for him, man. Oh, my goodness. It just looks worse and worse by the year. Because, yeah, Chris Paul had a good year for OKC, and then last year what he did for Phoenix, man. I mean, I don't think Russell Westbrook is going to have a Chris Paul type of effect on the Los Angeles Lakers. Let's just
hope not.
Put that out there right now. Yeah, I hope not. So, yeah, I wouldn't want a guy like that. How do we even get here?
I don't know. But the only other... we were talking about the team for sale or whatever, and then you said...
Yeah.
But anyways, one more thing about Chris McGowan. He was asked about jerseys, and he said they were going to do a mixtape jersey this year, which means, like you think mixtape, like of songs and stuff, but he says it's going to have elements from a bunch of past jerseys all mixed into one jersey. So interested to see.
Krish in here? I want to see Krish's mock-up of that idea. See,
I have no idea what that'll look like, but yeah.
So is that like retro jerseys combined with like more modern aspects of jerseys, or like a mixtape of like different city jerseys from years past?
I'm guessing it'll be like the Portland is in a font from one of the past jerseys, and then
it has to be a lowercase font.
The numbers are from a different jersey, like, and then the stripes maybe are from like one jersey, but there's maybe some on the sides from a different jersey. I don't know. I think you could do different things with it, but
the Ben Simmons jersey swap that Krish did, he also came up with a jersey mock-up that was like the more modern slash, and it was lowercase text. Maybe they hired Krish to do it. I don't know. They should hire Krish to do it. I mean, honestly, but I don't know what that's gonna look like. See, I was thinking like music wise, and then I was thinking like the horrible jerseys where every letter is a different font from something else. Just as long as it's not that, I'm cool with it. Like the Cleveland jerseys, isn't Miami doing that this year too? Miami's jerseys this year look horrible because I think they're doing the same thing. And it's funny because Miami always had the best, and now I think they probably have the worst next season. But yeah, the Cleveland, that's what it looked like too. You know, when people type and they make fun of what you or somebody else is saying, and they'll do like the different, they'll do the different like lowercase and uppercase letters. That's what Cleveland's jersey looked like. So yeah, just as long as it's not that, I'm cool with it. It'll be interesting to see, and we'll talk about it on Blazers Uprise Live when it comes out. I assume it'll come out before the season, right? Normally they get leaked right around now. Yeah. So we should see probably any day now, but
he made it seem like were going to have some sort of cool way to announce it, like they have in the past in the coming days. Yeah.
Mixtape jersey. I mean, there's not that many different things they can do, because it's like if you do the vertical, you know how they used to have the vertical lettering. If you do that, you can't have a slash. Unless that's what they're doing, they're going to have like the vertical text, but then they're also going to have a slash, which makes absolutely no sense, and I don't see how you could make that look good. But that would be a mix-up.
What if it said like Rip City, but the P had Portland going down? I don't know how you would do that.
That would be horrible.
I know. I was just thinking of like how you would make that look cool, but
and it'd just be like a giant T.
Yeah. And then the numbers are like, if it's a double-digit number, there's one on this side. Yeah.
Oh my god. Thank God you're not in.
No, I'm not saying I want this. I'm just like wondering how they.
Yeah, I know. Do you guys have any ideas? Let me know in chat.
If it said you're describing a hostage letter jersey, like someone cutting different letters out of a magazine so they don't like use their own handwriting or.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys have any ideas on how that might look like, be my guest and share it in chat. But I think, actually, let me see if I can toss the picture up here, because I think I have the, I don't know where it is.
Believe it or not, I have made some cool jerseys in past versions of 2K when I used to play.
Oh, you used to do the jersey creator?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You can actually do pretty much anything with those. So I know a lot of people like recreate college jerseys and whatnot, but I can't find the Krish. Oh man, I can't find the Krish thing. But if you look at my Ben Simmons thumbnail on the last Blazers Uprise Live, the jersey he's wearing, that's kind of what I'm thinking of might be the case.
My poster says do a vertical Rip City with the stripes going, I guess, between Rip and City.
That would look horrible. You can't do vertical text with a slash.
You could just do Rip City vertical. That might be kind of cool. Instead of Portland.
Yeah, but would it be in lowercase font?
I don't know.
There's like nothing. There's nothing like special about that, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Sledman, you laugh, but I've always been in favor of them doing a PDX carpet jersey. I think that would be cool.
I would like it if it was like a red jersey with like the PDX carpet design, like in black, or something like that. Like, don't just go with like the straight green with all the weird colors. Like, that'd be too much. But if you did
I think that'd be fun. I mean, it's just for 1 year, right?
Dude, we would get roasted. We would have the.
Actually,
you would want to watch games with them wearing a bright green jersey with like a bunch of random little colors on it.
Yeah, I don't think.
Okay, for the first 1 or 2 times, it might be cool, but like at the end of the season, I feel like you'd be so annoyed by them. At least I would. Maybe I should just speak for myself.
It depends on if they're like, because I really like the red jerseys from a couple with the vertical Portland on it, but we lost like every game that one season with them, so it's like, stop wearing these jerseys. So maybe it just depends on how we do them.
Dude, you know what would be cool though is if they did come out with a PDX carpet jersey, you could stylize the court. You could have an alternate court and stylize it so that. I don't think they would allow you to paint it green.
The paint is like looks like the PDX carpet.
The paint looks like the PDX carpet.
That'd be awesome, actually.
I'm
all for this, dude. That'd be cool.
Well, what would the perimeter of it be?
I don't know.
Would the perimeter of it be like PDX carpet? Because I feel like that'd be too much. If the perimeter was like black, maybe, and the paint was like green PDX carpet, that could look sick. I feel like it'd be too much. Yeah. Like ESPN would tell the NBA, nah, you guys can't do this because we will lose viewership if you guys have that as your court. Man, I'm giving it. I don't think Chris is watching it, man, but Chris is so good with mock-ups. I want to see what this would look like because I know he could make it look like realistic like that. But like if it was like, you know how they'll have the Denver Nuggets court had this where they'll have like the different toned wood and there will be like it was like the hammer things or whatever it was for Denver. The pickaxe looking things that would be like a different shade of wood in the court. Like you could do the PDX carpet design in like a slightly different shade of wood so that you could see it, but it wasn't like too much. You could do that in the wood of the court to accompany the jersey. And we've never done like an alternate court to accompany our jerseys like some other teams have done. And I always think that's really cool, like having a second court to accompany a jersey like that. So, I mean, I'm surprised they haven't done that yet because those would absolutely sell. I feel like in the coming years they're going to do that. There's so many things they could do because they haven't done like a rose...
The roses,
like a Rose City type of design.
Yeah.
They have so much to work with, actually. Here's the thing. I don't think they changed this year's court. Since we're talking about courts, I'm happy about that because I love the court they had last year.
I just looked up the PDX carpet, and I'm gonna post a link in chat to.
Do people not know what it looks like?
No, there was a Blazer version.
Oh, is it the green?
No, it's black and red and gray.
All right, let's see this.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Is there a way I can put this up on? I'll put this up on stream. Pinwheel carpet. That's what I'll name it. Yeah, this is by Marine Ray on Pinterest. So, or Pinterest. I obviously don't use Pinterest. I just call it Pinterest. So shout out to them for this design. Let me throw it up on screen here. Let's Pinwheel.
Yeah, get rid of the little logos, but just like more looking at the color scheme and stuff.
Yeah, see, like, I feel like the pinwheels are unnecessary. Like, if you just did it the squares and you did them white or whatever. See, that would look sick on a black jersey.
Yeah.
That would look at, see, and, like, do something like that.
Or maybe just put, like, one little pinwheel right in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, see, like, but here's the thing is, like, you don't have to even do that much with it. Just keep it simple. Keep the same exact design and just change the colors on it to match the Blazers.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be dope. And then you have PDX as the, like, instead of Blazers or Portland or Rip City, you have PDX. It's such it is such a simple and easy and genius marketing thing. I'm so surprised they haven't done it yet. So we'll see what they have this year, but they need to do that one year because I'm absolutely buying a jersey if it's that. And then you just make the court to accompany it. Easy. It's so easy. It's right there for them, Eric.
I love the plaid ones too, but you couldn't even tell they were plaid watching on TV. Like, I felt like they should have gone all out with the plaid, or even make it more like a lumberjack black and red plaid versus black and gray or whatever it was.
I like the subtlety. I think it might have been a little too subtle, but I like the subtlety. See, I like. Here's the thing: is I like stuff that is like an homage to something.
Yeah.
But is not so striking that it, like, looks bad on TV or looks wrong. You know what I'm saying? The thing is like the plaid jerseys, you couldn't even tell they were plaid on TV. So I would like watching it on TV to be like, oh, those are plaid jerseys, but not have it, like, so drastically plaid that it was like, what in the world is that monstrosity? You know, I'm just thinking of how other fans might think of it. So that's the thing with, like, changing the colors on the PDX carpet thing. I mean, it might look a little weird, but I don't know. I think it would look dope. I would do that with that sort of design that we just put up on stream. The green is too much.
Yeah.
Do you so did you like last year's court? Do you like last year's court?
Yeah, it was okay. I never had a problem with it. The Oregon jerseys are okay.
They grew on me as the season went on.
Yeah, I don't think they were horrible or anything. Yeah, I would just prefer. I didn't really like the gray ones. They're just too blah.
The gray what?
I forgot what they were.
Oh,
called,
the jerseys.
They were like all plain, you know, gray and white.
Yeah, I didn't mind that as a little, like, change of pace. I don't know. See, like, that I didn't think aesthetically looked bad. So, yeah. You love the throwback court. I did not enjoy that. Like, I thought it was cool, but like as the season went on, I don't know. I got tired of that court, and now when I watch highlights back with that court, I just think it looks eh. I felt like that should have been an alternate court on like throwback jersey nights to mesh with the throwback jerseys, because I felt like at first that court was really cool, and then it just grew. I don't know. Aesthetically, I didn't enjoy it at the end of the season. Yeah. But last year's court, I love. Just the stripes, the like Blazers types of stripes on either end and the different colors on either end of the court, I think just is fresh. Anyway, we got super sidetracked. This is media day. But, we're an hour.
Chauncey Billups.
Chauncey Billups. Let's get to Chauncey. Let's roll through these.
I mean, he must have said accountability like 100 times, right? That was definitely the word of the day. Mm-hmm. They want to win. They got to commit to defense. They need to be a better passing team and better ball movement team. And this was a quote from him. When you're gifted like Dame and CJ, you can score on double teams and be effective that way. But what happens is you become predictable.
Yep.
And the defense, how many times did we say that over the last 2 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's too predictable. And I wish he said, like, it's harder to win in the playoffs if you're predictable offensively.
He did basically say that. He said that you can score that way, right?
Yeah.
But then, like, the other guys don't get involved, and then the defense knows what you're going to do. You're going to try to shoot anyway, even though you're being double teamed, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's saying, like, it doesn't work. Like, you can't sustain it long enough, and that's exactly what we've been trying to say. Like, these tough shots, Dame and CJ can win any game by themselves, basically going off, or Dame can score 55 and still lose. You know, like
yeah,
it doesn't matter if you're not playing as a team, and if the defense can just force you into trying to do that every game. It's gonna work out for the other team in the playoffs more often than not.
Yeah, and here let's talk about Dame next. I know the next guy after that was Nance, but let's just talk about Dame next because I want to tie in something that Dame said today into that. The thing that I teased at the start of the show kind of fits in with that quote from Chauncey in a sort of way. And basically, Dame was on Rip City Radio 620 with Travis and Chad, and he said that part of what can help him defensively is it comes on the offensive end. And he basically admitted that, in its truth, and we could all see it, he had to expend so much energy running the offense last year and making everything happen for the offense last year. And he has that capability, but when teams are trapping you and game planning for you, making it hard on you, and you have to basically make everything happen out of that, it wears you down. And you don't have as much energy for the defensive end. And Dame came out and said that today. That was also something that we said last year, Eric, which when I heard it, I'm like, this is what we've been saying. If it's a situation where, maybe Dame doesn't even score less, but he's getting his buckets where he's spotting up or maybe like running off the screen and catch and shoot, or he can, the defense is shifted because we're moving the ball and he's able to catch the ball and just attack a gap and make something happen like that. Yep. That requires a lot less energy than what Dame had to do last year for our offense. It requires a lot less energy than Dame having to go against double teams and split the double team and make something happen going downhill, or, run pick and roll constantly, ISO constantly, and just bust his butt just to try and make something happen offensively. People will just point to our offensive rating and say, oh, well, we're such a great offense. But I think the offensive and the moving the ball more offensively might not improve our offensive rating. We still might be the third best team in the league offensively or whatever. But I actually think it will help our defense more because if Dame has more energy for the defensive end, he will be a better defender. Same thing goes for CJ, right? It's as much about taking responsibility out of those guys' hands, making it easier for Dame and CJ by utilizing other guys, by utilizing Nurkic's playmaking more, by utilizing Larry Nance Jr.'s playmaking more, by having Norman Powell be more of a playmaker. Therefore, saving energy and having them be better defenders because they have more energy for that end of the court. Dame basically said that today, and I thought that was huge, and it was really cool because that's something that we said all year last year.
Yep. And there's definitely more to that coming up.
Yeah. But
Well,
that's a good change with the offense, man. I just wanted to kind of tie it back to Chauncey, with Chauncey talking about us needing to be a better defensive team and a better passing team.
And he did touch upon one of those ways to accomplish that, and that's by paint touches. And he's not just talking about post-ups. He's talking about getting the ball into the paint and creating opportunities. And everyone freaked out, and like, oh, Chauncey's not going to be able to fit the modern game because he's saying not to shoot threes or whatever. No, he put that to bed today as well. He said it's about the type of threes you get, right? And getting into the paint, he says, almost always converges the defense to get closer in. And we see this with CJ pretty much every time he drives. The whole defense like collapses, right? And what does that do? That opens up the corners for shooting. And he also mentions it opens up lob targets as well underneath the basket. And the more you can get into the paint, whether it's from post-ups or from penetration, the more you can get better shots because of that. Not just Dame and CJ having to get in the paint and get to the hoop and score every time. It's the way they do it, and it doesn't have to be Dame and CJ to get in the paint. It can be those other guys, whether it's Nance or Nurk on a short roll, or even just Norm dribbling down. And I really like pretty much everything Chauncey's ever said since he's became coach of this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's the thing. Here's a general rule. The closer the ball is to the hoop, the more of a threat it is, and the more the defense has to react. Now, that doesn't apply to like long twos versus threes. You're more of a threat from a three-point line because it's worth more, but
right.
The ball is the most dangerous if it's in somebody's hands in the paint, right? Especially if they have an opportunity to score, right? If they're a threat to really convert at the rim, because in order to stop that threat, the defense has to react to it. It has to collapse. It has to rotate. It has to help. And that'll open up better threes passing out of that while the defense is shifting and rotating to the rim or collapsing to the interior and worried about that. You'll be able to generate higher quality threes than Dame shooting 30-footers while being trapped off a screen. I know he can make them, and it's really cool when he does, but if we're sitting here talking about, okay, we want this team to be as competitive as possible and be a contender and win a championship, I 100% agree with Chauncey. Paint touches is a good thing, and everybody just assumes post touches, right? But it can come from somebody catching the ball. Maybe we've whipped the ball around and the defense is rotating and somebody catches the ball and their defender is kind of off to the side because they're rotating, and we just attack that gap and get downhill into the paint and make the defense collapse and then kick out, right? Or it could come off a backdoor cut, right? Somebody cuts backdoor, and we had some of those last year. I want to see more of them this year, especially with Nurkic throwing the pass. If you have Dame cutting backdoor and beating his guy off a backdoor cut and they have to rotate to him, he's kicking out to somebody because somebody's being left. So that's a situation that can happen. It can happen just off face cuts. It doesn't even have to be a backdoor cut. It can be a back screen. It can be all sorts of things, right? Mm-hmm. People just think post-ups when you hear paint touches. That's not the case. You can get it in a variety of ways. And manufacturing more paint touches for this team will lead to higher quality threes and should hopefully lead to higher quality twos as well if it's coming in situations where it's not just giving it to one guy and him posting up one-on-one or attacking from the perimeter one-on-one, where if we're moving players and we're moving the ball, we're able to utilize that to help manufacture higher quality inside looks as well. That just is going to result in higher quality shots. It's going to be harder to guard in the playoffs. So I absolutely love hearing that about paint touches.
Well, this kind of ties into what he said about Nurk too, because he basically said Nurk got such few post touches that when he did get the ball and it was expected to score, he rushed his shot, and that affects his finishing, right? Because he doesn't know when he's ever going to get another post touch again. But if you're running the offense through him, and it's designed that way to run the offense through him, then he can take his time. He can get a good shot if it's there, or he can pass out knowing that the ball might come back to him in the post later in the possession, or a couple possessions down the road. It's not like he's not going to get a chance to pass the ball again for several possessions. So I think just what he said about that is playing inside out and giving the ball to Nurk to make plays for others, but also that he's good enough if he just slows down and gets settled. Because a lot of the times we know when he gets in trouble with finishing, it's because he rushes it and flips it up or doesn't get square. The times where he does his little spin move towards the baseline and gets completely square to the basket and uses his body to shield the defender and lay it off the backboard, he's almost unstoppable in those situations. When he has his little, he's not great with his jump hooks, but when he takes his time and he gets the right positioning and seals his guy in the proper way, those ones are almost automatic. So I like that he has specific ways for him to increase his efficiency inside, but also play off of that and let him play make and do his thing. And he described Nurk's skills as beautiful, and I really like that too.
I mean, here's the first area where I'm going to question Chauncey this year, officially on the record. Okay. I'm not sure Nurkic is a good enough post-up threat, even if he takes his time, to justify giving him a ton of low post touches if our half-court offense is really good when we move the ball and have players cutting and running things that way, right? So my part is like, okay, sure, let's try it and let's give him enough touches where he feels like he can make the most out of them. But if it's something that is not as efficient or as effective as us doing other stuff, I don't want to over-rely on it, and I don't want it to be something that we're not willing to move off of, because you sound very confident in his post touches. So does Chauncey. I am not quite as confident in Nurkic being in the post. I am confident in Nurkic as a player. I think this year 3-point shot is going to take a jump, and I love his passing ability, right? And if it's a situation where, it's not even a situation where he has to like score super efficiently. If we have good motion off ball when Nurkic is posting up and we're manufacturing good shots that way, then I'm absolutely down for that. And Nurkic is getting enough.
Going to be.
Yeah, it's just a situation where it's like, if Nurkic isn't doing the best job in that situation, because we've seen stretches in the past where he hasn't done the best job as a post scorer. Now we haven't seen him much as a post playmaker because everybody stands around. So, it'll be interesting to see that difference. And that's why I'd absolutely try it. It's just a situation where it's like, I'm not as confident. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just not as confident that it will absolutely work. So it's sort of something where it's like, if it's not super efficient, even if he's passing out of that, how does he feel when we go away from it? If it's not working out quite like how we expected. You know what I mean? And I think that would be the first test for him and Chauncey's relationship as a player-coach duo. That is just the situation that I'll be watching, because I think he has the potential to be able to score efficiently and play make well out of it. I just don't 100% trust that yet.
See, I got something completely different out of this whole thing, so interesting. But
where do you disagree?
I feel like Chauncey doesn't want just straight post touches where it's just like, okay, Nurk, make something happen. I think he wants to design the offense around getting him the ball in a position where he can dump it off to a cutter on those plays, or if he feels like he has an advantage, take it to the basket and score. But I feel like they're going to run an offense around getting him inside, and that's how they're going to play inside out. And I love playing inside out, so I might be a little biased, but
I don't think the offense should be designed around any one particular player. So being like
Zeller, Nance, all those guys can do that same role.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's not like it's just about Nurk.
Yeah, like that integrated within the offense and having that be a big part of the offense, I'm cool with. Maybe this is just semantics, but I don't want the offense to be based, around an individual player.
You make it sound like we're going to do the Carmelo Anthony ISO post-ups.
Yeah, no, I know the post-ups. I know the post-ups will be a lot higher quality because instead of everybody standing around, we will have better movement off of it. And Nurkic is a guy who's a more willing passer than Melo is. So, and he's more efficient inside the arc than Melo is. So, yeah, I know it's different. I don't know, man. It's
But I mean, Chauncey also mentioned how he's going to use him in the short roll and at the top of the key as a high post elbow passer as well. So it's not like they're designing the whole offense around him.
No, I know. Like, I think that should be a part of the offense. Just it kind of gives me a little bit of pause where you're like, yeah, the offense is going to be based around that. Just because in the past few years we've had so much of the offense based around individual players. I just love the idea of having an offense that's not based around anybody doing anything, that's versatile enough that it does a bunch of different things, and everything is just a contributory part to the offense as a whole.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is like I don't want to over rely on any one thing. So when it's like, oh, Nurkic felt like he didn't get enough post touches and therefore he rushed his shot or wouldn't pass out, or didn't do well because he didn't get enough post touches. I just don't want it to be something where we try and make that better but end up over relying on it, and then he's not as efficient as a post playmaker or a post scorer as he is, on the short roll or playing from the elbow or playing as a part of a free flowing offense that's a little bit more perimeter based.
But based off everything that was said today, it seems like, and even Nurk, well, we'll get to that, but like all the guys said, if it's like that, they will accept. If Chauncey says, like, this isn't working, we're going to try something else, that he's fine with that, because at least he tried to do that. But I still think that Nurk isn't concerned about having post touches or where he gets the ball, as long as he's more involved in the offense as a whole, and that'll keep him happy. So I don't think
it would cause an issue. It's just something that, I'm kind of thinking about right now, and I'm just questioning how that plays out if he's not super good, because it's like Chauncey's hyped him up all summer long, which he absolutely should. I have nothing wrong with anything that Chauncey said, so I don't want anybody to take it like this. If it's a situation where, I don't know, like Nurk gets fewer post touches, I just don't want it to be a situation where Nurk gets discouraged or feels like his role is being reduced or something. So I don't know. We'll see on that. I'm not meaning for this to be like a negative outlook at all. I'm just kind of curious about the whole situation on it.
My feelings are, we want a diverse offense, right? So we want as many wrinkles as possible. So
yeah, absolutely should be a wrinkle.
If the defense has no idea if we're going to run Nurk through the post or the high post or the pick and roll, or if we're going to ISO Dame or CJ a certain player, whatever. Like I just feel like as many different wrinkles as you can have as possible. I don't think Nurk's going to complain if he gets 5 post touches one game and 2 the next game. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the whole he'll be better in the post if he gets more touches down there. That's the kind of part that I'm talking about, which is kind of my takeaway was from it is that he only got a few post touches, so he struggled with them, so he needs more.
No, he was saying that. I mean, he said this out loud. He said he rushed his shots in the post when he got post touches because they were so infrequent. Not that he.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what I'm saying. Yeah. So I just don't want it to be a situation where they over rely on anything. That's my takeaway. Anyway, what else did Chauncey say?
Well, one thing he did say about Nurk too is that when you lose, you should be frustrated. So he had no problems with the way he.
I mean, that's just competitive attitude.
Yep.
And too many people, I don't know if they haven't played sports or what, but it's like they're holding him being frustrated after their season ends against him. And the thing is, everything he was saying in that press conference after Game 6 was fact, too. So it's not like he was just saying anything. So I thought that was completely ridiculous the way people acted about that press conference, and he absolutely should have been frustrated, like every fan was.
Yeah. So probably the quote of the day from Billups in particular was about his philosophy is put an address on it, is what he said. And for those that don't know what that means, is that's part of being accountable, is if someone messes up, you say, dude, you messed up. You call them out. And once again, for those who've watched us for a while, both Tori and I have talked about watching film, and that's how you get better, is when you don't want to get called out in film the next day, so you're not going to fall asleep off ball. And if you do, you're thinking about that all night. Oh man, tomorrow in film study they're gonna rail me so hard for falling asleep off ball that one play, or not boxing out on a key moment on a free throw, or something like that. You should get called out. That's how you learn. And it just seems like we have so many examples of them saying they watch film and all this stuff, but they don't really watch it the right way for some reason. Like, I don't understand how they could have so many times where it seems like they didn't watch film and didn't learn from mistakes that happened over and over and over again throughout the season. And I love this from Billups. And the thing is, if you have that mindset like, oh man, I don't want to get called out, that's an effective way to not do it anymore. Because yes, when you first start out, you're consciously thinking like, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. But throughout the season, like after a few weeks of doing that, you're going to be like just doing it naturally, right? And then you're going to react to things the way you should react to them, the way the coach wants you to react to them, because you practice that all the time and you develop that good habit of not doing the wrong thing and not wanting to get called out in practice. And so I love this. I love that they're going to call people out, and this is what should have happened years ago under Stutz.
Yeah. I take it more as like, I don't know. I don't think that Dame and CJ or any of these guys want to give up defensive breakdowns. Mm-hmm. I think it's a situation where these guys all want to win. They don't like making a defensive mistake. I almost think the accountability is something that will force them to understand what they're doing wrong, because I think that was kind of a big issue, is they didn't really understand what they were doing wrong because they weren't being held accountable enough and talked and showed it enough outside of, or just in general. I can't say because I wasn't there, but it seems like they didn't watch enough film defensively, and they didn't really focus on what was giving them trouble, and then, of course, the schemes were bad. So I almost think defensive accountability and film sessions and whatnot will go a long way in terms of helping these players prioritize fixing what they're actually doing wrong, by first helping them understand what they're doing wrong, and then second, kind of reinforcing better habits. Because there's players on this team that have some bad defensive habits. Last year, a lot of players would overhelp or be out of position defensively, and having some added accountability and just really focusing on stuff like that in film sessions, in practice sessions, will reinforce it for guys and drill it into their heads where they need to be, what they need to be doing, what mistakes they need to fix, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And as Trevin points out, you're forgetting they had that one defensive practice, Tori. Don't forget about that.
See, that's why I think it's been an issue, is because they'll have like a defensive practice when you're the second to last defensive team and offensively you're not even running anything and you're the second best offense, then having one defensive only practice a season shouldn't be like some big accomplishment. That's a bad thing if you're only having one defensive only practice. But Stotts had it, and it was like some big deal. Like, yeah, they really focused on defense yesterday. This is a first. That's bad.
Okay, so if you're wrong, let's just play devil's advocate, and they had been holding players accountable and calling them out in film and doing all the right things, right? Why did every player say like they're looking forward to actually having that happen this year?
Exactly. So that's a big thing from
you were right.
Mm-hmm, that's a big thing from these interviews today. Yes. A big thing that got reinforced. Like, I felt like a lot of things we said last year got reinforced by what was said today, and that was one of them, because these players were like excited about, oh yeah, we're going to be held accountable, and everybody on the roster is going to be held accountable. And it's like, people laughed at us when we said there's an accountability issue with this team, and I was sitting here like, everything that I criticized Stotts for outside of that was stuff that I could see on the court. But I also criticized Stotts for a lack of accountability, and I had to say, like, I'm not there, so I don't know for sure, but it seems like these guys are not being held accountable. And today, I think that was proven as fact, Eric. I think you're right, man. Because if they were being held accountable, then why was that the word of the day today?
Yeah. Why did everyone say they're open to finally having that happen?
I mean, maybe it's just Melo's gone, so now they can be. I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
Do you, anything else from Chauncey? Because I want to tie my thoughts on Melo right now to the next guy.
Well, he also said to do it with respect. He said he's not going to be like a jerk about it. He's going to be respectful, and I think we all know he's going to command the players' respect. I don't think there's any doubt. Like, that's the least thing I'm worried about is the players not respecting him.
He's going to be a leader. Plain simple. Like, good leaders know how to respectfully hold people accountable. So,
lets his guys know they have to be better, but puts others on notice as well that, as Liam points out in chat, it's the Spurs way. Like, that's Tim Duncan, Pop famously went to him and said, look, I am going to have to yell at you and treat you like every player. And if you don't like that, then you're not going to work out here or whatever. And Duncan was like, bring it. Like, I want all the criticism you can give me because that's what makes me a better player. And that's why I think teams like that succeed or end up being successful for, 15 years, 20 years, because those type of teams, they hold themselves accountable eventually. And Dame and CJ might have a little bit of a learning curve trying to get back to that mode, right? But it's just a situation where that breeds it throughout the whole organization. And then before you know it, everyone is on the same page and they all hold themselves accountable. And then you don't even have to hold them accountable because they hold themselves to a higher standard than even you want of them.
Yep. Anything else you had on Chauncey?
He said that the players...
Yeah, go ahead.
The players have to accept coaching if they want to be a good player and teammate, which I agree with. Yep. And then that
won't be an issue.
Communication is the key for him. He says he talked to every single player individually. He finds out who they want to be as a player, lets them know if that's realistic or not, and gives them, feedback and what he expects of them. Just awesome. And then the final thing from Billups that we have to touch on, he was asked if this team is a championship contender or if that's like a bad word or something. And he says, we always shoot for a championship. He said you need luck. Talked about last year being a war of attrition for a lot of teams that got hurt, and anything could happen once certain teams got hurt or had players go down. But he specifically mentioned the Phoenix Suns, and that was awesome to hear from him because he said they all bought into Monty's system. No one thought going into last year that they were going to contend for a championship or be in the finals. Even a lot of diehard Suns fans were just hoping to make the playoffs or, be in the middle of the pack in the West or whatever. So that's something that absolutely I agree with him. We've talked about this many times. We can be this year's version of Phoenix, in my opinion.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it would be closer to this year's version of Utah. Hopefully Phoenix in the playoffs, Utah in the regular season. But Utah was a team that had a lot of, they didn't go out and make a splash at all. Mm-hmm. They just brought back their same guys, and Mike Conley was healthier and was better than he was the year before, so that was one of the factors there, but they were the number one team in the West. So Phoenix, Utah, teams like that, I absolutely agree and think we can be like that this season. Yeah.
But home run for Billups.
Yep, absolutely. So we're an hour and a half into the stream, and we're just getting to the players. So,
a lot of the players are going to go fast.
yeah. So, let's start with Larry Nance. I said, I brought up Dame earlier, but we can get to him. We can just do this in chronological order. Okay.
So you're going to reference Melo to it?
Yeah, I'm going to reference Melo, and I'm going to ask you a question. You were very supportive of Melo last year, in my opinion. And not saying you shouldn't have been or anything. Just you were more supportive than I was, and a lot of the fan base kind of got tired of the whole, legacy thing and whatnot. And I know you didn't enjoy that either. But you were one of the more supportive guys of him, and were more open to bringing him back this offseason than I was, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so...
Without promises.
Yeah. But hearing Larry Nance Jr. talk today, aren't you thrilled to have a guy say something like this? One of the things Larry Nance said, he doesn't care if he's playing 2 minutes or 30 minutes. He doesn't care how many shots he gets. He just wants to win, and he'll do whatever it takes, whatever it is necessary to get that job done. Hearing him say that compared to the way we knew Melo felt about things and legacy, and he has to get his post touches, and he has to play at least 20 minutes a game, and yada, yada, yada. Aren't you just so relieved to have that change?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. If it's a choice between Nance or Melo, I'm taking Nance. I don't think that has to be a choice, but like I said, I agree if that is the choice.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, it's such a huge relief to me.
Right. My thing with Melo is I just think if you're preaching ball movement and spacing and opening the floor, there's things you can do with a player who commands defensive attention that to utilize that in a way, like kind of like a decoy almost, or just someone who can, I mean, because sure, Nance can score a little bit, but he's not a guy who, like, Dame and CJ are getting taken out of a game. You can get a bucket necessarily the way Melo can. But it's not crucial to have that. I just think every team could use a player like Melo on the bench, just maybe not with quite as big of a ego or need to be the man on a team. So
yeah, but it's just like, I don't know, hearing everybody talk today, everybody was just like basically preaching selflessness, right? And last year, and it wasn't even like, even if they were playing that style last year, Eric, I still think there would have been a ton of talk about, oh, Melo passed this guy, and no, Melo passed this guy tonight, and oh, we're celebrating Melo tonight because he passed this guy, now he's in 12, he's in 11. I mean, yeah, it's just like got to the point where it was like all this talk about his legacy and letting Melo be Melo and yada yada yada. Like that would go in such contradiction to everything we heard today. Yeah. And some of that is, letting Melo be Melo, and like that's force feeding him touches and whatnot. And we didn't necessarily have to do that, but it's like even under Chauncey, I feel like with Melo back, it would have kind of had that feeling like, oh, Melo's back, and now he's in the top 10 as scorers. Let's see where he can get this year. Like, it would have been, I don't know, last year we had a super selfish offense, and it wasn't even necessarily because anybody was selfish. It was more by design. And this year, I'm hoping that changes, and it's all about everybody being bought in, being selfless, moving the ball more, not caring about touches or how much they score, all this type of stuff. I'm just so relieved that we have a guy as our backup for now who basically embodies that to a T.
Yeah. Compared
to Mr. Legacy.
I didn't catch any of Lakers media day today. I caught several other teams, but did they have their media day today? I didn't see anything about it online. But
you would have definitely seen it, so I don't feel like they did.
Because I'd be interested to see if your theory is correct. He would be like that this year too, most likely.
It'll just be like, man, I just want to win a championship, and I'm happy to be playing with LeBron, and that's what it will be now.
Right.
But I'm sure it won't be super focused on him when he's playing with LeBron and AD, and it's the Lakers and all this type of stuff. But like in small market Portland, to have a big name, future Hall of Famer like that, it's almost just like, I don't know.
Lakers video tomorrow. Jackson says, "Thanks, Jackson."
Thank you, Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you would want him to be like emergency, like Ben McLemore basically on this team, but he's never going to accept that role. But I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
For all the crap he did accept the bench role last year, and he was a good sport about it, and he didn't complain publicly at all last year. So I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap for basically getting forced into a situation where he was. I mean, what are you supposed to do with him and Cantor on the court? So both of those guys, I think, we could have done so much better to ease that burden on having them play together. But yeah, I agree. After watching Nance today, I mean, he even had all the Portland talking points. He brings up the LGBTQ community. He brings up soccer. He brings up like politics and
you can tell
Ohio.
He's a soccer fan. Yeah, bashes Ohio. Bashes Ohio because they aren't progressive enough like Portland. Right. I mean, you can tell he's a soccer fan too if you follow him on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, he just seems like a cool dude. He just seems like a Portland kind of dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I like his personality. I like his personality. And I didn't know anything about his personality until recently. But dude, this is the type of guy, dude, like, this is the type of guy you want on your team. I could see him being, like, kind of the heart and soul energy guy for this team. And, like, Nurkic is kind of that, too. I could see him being that. And on a stream a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about, I feel like we don't have a heart and soul guy, and we lost Zach Collins. And Zach Collins was kind of like our guy who had an edge to him and, like, had some feistiness and some fire. I don't know. I feel like Larry Nance Jr. could be that guy, man. That was the most enjoyable interview for me to watch, man, just because of his whole, like, demeanor and just the things he was saying, man. I don't even know how to really put it in words.
He seems like goofy, like fun, but also like really intelligent too. But like, he had so much energy, it was hard to like take him seriously because he was answering, like, the way he was talking was just kind of funny. So,
okay, hold on. There was a time in this interview where I was like, he just sounds like somebody I know, but I can't put my finger on it.
Jackson.
And Trevin just nailed it. He sounded like, there's like somebody said that sounded exactly like Jackson. And I couldn't figure it out, man. Oh, Trevin, yes, thank you. Yeah. I don't know. He kind of talks a little like Jackson.
Tyler K asked, do you think it's weird he kept saying he chose to come to Portland? Yeah, I don't know if that was really the right way to phrase it, but apparently he did, or there were several similar offers on the table, because if you recall, Cleveland didn't get anything from us in that trade, so there could have been similar trades on the board from several different teams of a expiring contract and a first round pick, and so it could have been a case where Cleveland was nice enough to say, hey, look, these are the options. They're all offering the same thing to Chicago. They're fine with either of them. Which one of these would you rather have? So in a way, he might have chosen that, much like Cantor last year, I believe, had the option of staying with Memphis or coming to Portland. I think there might have been one other team, and he decided to come back to Portland. So even though they're traded for, they do sometimes have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, he's a guy who his father played for Cleveland, so he spent a lot of his childhood in Cleveland, and like he's the type of guy, you know, good, like seems like a great guy off the court, does a lot of good things off the court, and a good guy to have in the locker room. So he's the type of guy that Cleveland would, if they could, they would give him some options of trying to do what's best for him, especially if it's a situation where it's like multiple deals where it doesn't even affect what Cleveland gets, since it was the sign and trade for Lauri Markkanen. So I could definitely see that being the case, and I would guess that's what happened.
And the bottom line is
wait, hold on. That would have been a great question for him.
Oh, yeah.
But
bottom line though, he wants to be here. He says he wants to be here. He seems over the moon excited about the opportunity here. He's ready to be on the playoff stage. He got one taste of it one season, and he's missed it and wants to get back to that. He's got that hunger and drive to get back to the finals. Like you mentioned, he's willing to do whatever it takes to win, and I completely believe him when he says that. There's some people that'll say that, like if Melo said that, you'd be like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, right? But with him, it's absolutely the case, and he's proven that. in certain situations. Um, I did like a lot of the things he said about the defense. Like, oh, when he played Portland, he didn't have to worry about how you're going to get your points. He just had to worry about stopping them from getting more than you or whatever.
Yeah.
I also loved how he specifically mentioned something that we have hit home 100 times, and that's when you have a 4-3 advantage in the short roll, you have to make plays going downhill in those situations and get aggressive instead of going slow and letting the defense recover back to the open guy. And so hopefully he is really good in the short roll in those situations. I think with how intelligent he is, how good of a passer he is, I feel fully confident in those short roll situations if he's the guy that ends up being that outlet there.
Yeah, and here's the situation. Like, maybe we want Dame, CJ, Norm on the floor with Nurkic, right? But maybe it's a team that is trapping Dame a lot, and you want that additional playmaking in there, but you don't really want to sacrifice anything defensively. Now you could play Larry Nance Jr. instead of Robert Covington in those ending lineups and have some additional playmaking at the 4. He's not as good of a shooter as Rocco, and I think Rocco is a slightly better defender, but like they're both really, really good. So, you know, it's not. I'm not sitting here and saying Larry Nance Jr. is a better player. I think they're very equal, but it could be a situation of like, what do you need down the stretch? What type of game is it? Do you need a 4-man that can play make and out of the short roll, out of the trap? And if you do, then you play Larry Nance Jr. If you just want a guy that you can trust on to hit some threes because our forward spots have been getting a lot of spot up threes in the game, then maybe you put Rocco in there instead. So I like that part of it.
Or maybe you take Nurk out and play Rocco.
Or you go small. Yeah. If it's a team that's going small down the stretch, you take Nurk out and you go small. Or if Norm is struggling and it's a team that goes big, you play Nance, Rocco, and Nurk at the 3-4-5. Like, you got a lot of options.
I mean, what, Nance was like right around 36% the last year or two, right? 3-point shooting?
Yeah, gone up the last couple years.
That's Rocco's career average is 36%, and he had a better shooting year this year next to Dame and CJ than he had the previous few years. So maybe that's a case where they're pretty equal 3-point shooters, so that doesn't really factor in either.
Yeah. Yeah. What else on Nance do you got?
He had a funny thing about accountability. He said players know. He said they know when they mess up, and so it's not like calling them out is some sort of secret, like, oh my goodness, like you did something wrong. Like, you should know when you mess up, and that's part of accountability.
Yeah. See, like, it's not hard for a player to know when they mess up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they know exactly what they should be doing in that scenario.
He said there's a certain level of care you need, and what he meant by that was you have to care as to why you messed up and how to fix it, right? Yeah. You can't just be like, oh, my bad, messed up, like every time, right? And just keep saying that. So you have to not only know you messed up, but then that's when he said he looked forward to being accountable, and he has no problem with that because if you have that level of care, then you're going to want to learn from that and be better and care enough to do that. And I just, once again, home run. I think I was excited about the trade. I thought it was a great trade, but after listening to him today, I think he's just going to be such. I mean, people say move the needle. I don't know, like to what degree, but I think he's going to be much more impactful than a lot of people had thought when he was traded here.
Yeah. I don't even want to get into people that underrate his game. You got anything else on
No,
Nance?
That was pretty much it for Nance.
All right. Who was after Nance?
CJ was next up.
All right. What were your takeaways from CJ's conversation?
He said he doesn't take the trade rumors to heart, which I thought was cool of him to say. He said
he knows how it is as a fan because he's a Browns fan, and he's kind of the same way with the Browns as some fans are with the Blazers, so that's cool.
Yeah, there was a video of him at the game. He was on the sidelines on Sunday for the Browns game.
Who did they play on Sunday? Who did they play yesterday?
They played the Bears, I think. Is it the Bears? Yeah, I think it was the Bears.
I think it was the Bears, and the Bears did horrible. Rough weekend of football for us, but more so you.
And my Bears one.
Your Bees one. I don't care about college football, but yeah, our fantasy matchup, man. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I just had to bring that up.
I'd rather get blown out than lose a heartbreaker. We would have had 2 guys get out with injuries, but so he was handshaking with Baker and Odell Beckham and stuff, but he was saying like, "Oh, my friends, I've like thought about trade scenarios where we could get something for those guys too." So like, he doesn't take that seriously, and he said if he's here, he's going to give the best version of him. So I thought it was cool that he played it that way, and he knows, man. He knows it's nothing personal. He also mentioned that he was comfortable with any type of coaching, and that he is completely open to being held accountable as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to say they're not open to that, but you could... I got the feeling like, they're not lying about it, so... so that's cool. What else did you...
Trevin has the quote. It's some people don't like you, some people do like you, and then some people like you and also want you gone.
Yeah. Yep. That's a perfect description of this fan base.
It's kind of where we fit. I mean, we both like CJ. No problem with him being on the team, but
it's not even that we want him gone. It's just like, if there's a deal out there that makes the team better, I'm for it. If that means he's gone,
because a lot of the people we talk about, whether that's Siakam, that kind of player, we basically have to trade CJ in that deal in some capacity to make it work financially. So it's nothing personal with CJ. I mean, if we could get Siakam without trading any good players, of course we would do it. But like, you have to give up something to get something back. So yep. But yeah, CJ, other than that, it was kind of all just fluff stuff. Mm-hmm. We've heard it before from him.
Yep. Who's next?
Yusuf.
Oh, no, it was Nurkic. All right, so I'm sure you got a couple juicy ones here. It was a very juicy interview.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's a completely different person.
Yeah, okay, let me just give my takeaway, all right? And then you can dive into the coach. My main takeaway is... I didn't write a lot of stuff down because it was all the same, basically. Yeah, but, like, my takeaway was this dude hated Terry Stotts. Hated him. Absolutely hated him. That was my takeaway. It's like, my goodness. But we were saying that at the end of last year, man. And when was the first time we realized that he was unhappy with Stotts? Was it mid-season or was it playoffs? I think it was before playoffs.
It was before the playoffs because it was right when he came back from injury, one of his first games back. He said, that was when he said, like, sitting on the sidelines, I noticed the lack of effort on defense, and we got to be more aggressive on offense, and everyone's playing selfish and all that kind of stuff. So that happened. I forgot what the date was, but it was right around when he came back, like his first game back, or right before he came back, or somewhere around there. And then that was either later that same night or the next game or something. That's when Stotts made the Nurk just goes rogue comment.
Dude, that a coach saying that about a player, I didn't read too much into it at the time. I was just like, oh, Stotts just sucks. But that indicates that things are seriously broken. If your head coach is ever saying, this player just goes rogue, and sometimes Dirk just goes rogue, man, I don't know. Like, if any coach is ever saying about that about any player, that's a real bad sign for that coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that should never be said. Like, the only way that could be good is like, I give Nurkic some freedom to trap or to sag off the pick and roll, and I let him decide what to do at points, and me and him have talked about that, and I give him the freedom to do that. Like, okay, maybe that's fine. It's still not a good strategy because the rest of your defense has to be designed to fit behind whatever you're doing guarding the pick and roll. But if you're out here saying a guy went rogue, dude, it's even worse thinking back about it now than I took it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty annoyed.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Because, I mean, I'll just come out and say it. There's some people who are criticizing Nurk online for they're Stotts lovers, and they think that he's being a baby and that he had every opportunity to have these roles under Stotts, and that there's not really that much possible growth if he's given a different role. It's not going to look that much different. So
I feel like let me just say that to that. I feel like anybody who's actually played organized basketball at a high enough level in which they didn't just get like a great role understands where Nurkic is coming from.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I normally don't like say stuff like that, but if you can't understand the mindset of Nurkic, I feel like you probably haven't played organized basketball, because I can absolutely relate to some of it with my, year of college basketball and seeing some of the ways, we were coached, and even in high school, in the way I was utilized in high school. Like, I understand where he's coming from, man, and it's frustrating to see people hate on him, because I saw it last year and I called it out last year, and it all makes sense. And it's not like this dude is doing it from a selfish place in my mind. He wants to be the best player he can be so that he can help the team be the best team that they can be.
Right.
And if he's not being put in the right role and you being utilized correctly, then he's going to have an issue with that, because it's holding him back. It's holding the team back. It's not good. So, like, even if it's even if he's being selfless, he's still going to be annoyed, because it's a situation where he feels like Terry Stotts isn't doing what's best for the team because one of their players isn't being utilized, right? And it just so happens to be him. You know what I mean? So yeah. I don't know. It's just frustrating hearing that, because I don't know. Like, it's just people that I feel like have no idea what Nurkic is talking about or how to relate to it.
And this is another thing that was proven. I think we can pretty much lay it to bed 100% correct. Nurk, everything he said that day was 100% true. Our effort on defense was crap. Mm-hmm. The way we play offense was selfish, and it does not work. We needed to move the ball better. We needed to have better plays. We needed to hold people accountable. Everyone agrees about today that was all right? And and everyone affirmed today, like we talked about earlier, that was not happening last year. So not only think about this, right? You're Yusuf Nurkic. You watch this team play. You watch this defense be somehow worse than the year before when they didn't have you there, right? And then you come back, you sat on the sidelines, and you pinpoint exactly to a T everything that is wrong with this team and that needs to be better. And instead of your coach being like, yeah, let's do this more. Let's explore these things. And they're not complicated things. Passing the ball and having more effort on defense and like trapping a little more, being more aggressive. Like, those are just basic basketball things. It's not like you had to incorporate those into some like 8 months of practice before you're good at doing them. And instead of his coach being receptive to any of that, he calls him out and like he's the freaking problem. Like, no, coach just completely threw him under the bus. And that, if I was Nurk, I don't know if I might have pulled a Latrell Sprewell on Coach Stotts last year if he was doing that to me like behind the scenes and stuff. Like, I don't get how anyone can not see that Stotts was in the wrong there and Nurk was 100% right. And it was proven today that Nurk knew exactly how to fix the team and tried to get the players to do something about it when there was still like 20 games left to actually change it and work on those things before the playoffs. But no, we don't do that. And then Nurk looks crappy, like it's his fault in the playoffs because Stotts stupid ass schemes, and he gets the blame for not stepping up and defending Jokic one-on-one.
With not a single different look being thrown in to help Nurkic with that defensive assignment. Right. You know what I mean?
And then you got people criticizing him. Like, those people don't know basketball at all. They don't know basketball. And their credibility is all shot anyway. And now those same people are, like, in a position where they have to root for this team to be bad next year or they look even worse. So, it's just I don't get how anyone could be mad at Nurk for being frustrated and for having an attitude or a problem with that.
Dude, it's just ridiculous. It's all the people that... it's just people... This is where I talked earlier in the stream about how people have a pro-Stotts bias. And a lot of their opinions fit along that narrative. And this is just one of them. An opinion that makes absolutely no sense. Because everything that was talked about today was basically echoing what Nurkic was saying was wrong with the team last season, right? But somehow Stotts put him in a perfect position to succeed, and Nurk was wrong for that, and shouldn't have been as frustrating. Just all this crap, man.
Oh, and then you got Danny Meringue a few days ago telling him to shut up and play basketball too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Add that to the mix.
But that's bad. That's what you should expect from Dan Meringue. That's the awesome analysis and insight he brings, and Anthony Simons is 6'5". I'm surprised we didn't get a question about, hey, Ant, are you 6'5" today? Oh my goodness. He better be 6'5" when he walks on that court on October 2nd for FanFest. All right? Shoot, dude, I need to go stand courtside and sit behind the bench that he's on and then just, like, stand next to him and be like, okay, is he actually 6'5"? Oh, my goodness. Because, of course, he... If anybody doesn't know, Meringue brought up on a stream, he's like, yeah, Anthony Simons is now 6'5". And then Anthony Simons came on their stream, I think it was a couple weeks later, recently, and... Anthony brought it up himself. He was like, yeah, somebody said I was 6 foot.
It was me.
Yeah, somebody said I was 6'5". I'm in a fantasy football league with some Blazer fans, and somebody said, hey, Ant, I heard you were 6'5". Is that true? And Anthony was confused by that. He didn't know where that started. He brought that up on Meringue's stream when Meringue started the rumor that Anthony Simons is 6'5". And Meringue acted like he had no idea what Anthony Simons was talking about. He's like, well, we better break out the tape measure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. If you're watching our stream, you've made the right choice on YouTube. Let me just say that. It's just that type of stuff. And telling Nurkic to shut up and dribble, it's just ridiculous, man. I will continue to hold people like him accountable for the crap that they spew and the stuff that they say. And I will continue to hold the media accountable. And I will... shout out media when they do a good job. I shouted out Travis and Chad today because I thought they were doing a good job interviewing players on Rip City Radio 620. So it's not something where I'm just sitting here trying to bash people. I will continue to hold accountable the crap that they spew. And telling Nurkic to shut up and play was absolutely ridiculous. And anybody who's like sitting there like, yeah, is just absolutely lost.
Yeah, so Gray Hughes said today in their live stream, he bashed Nurk's attitude and talked about how he should just be grateful.
Screw that guy, man.
Yeah.
Screw that guy. And I don't want to talk about him, but he keeps saying stuff that is just absolutely blasphemous and ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And now it's like he lost his post-game show, and now he's on YouTube, and he's going to be doing post-game shows. He's going to be doing everything that we're doing. So he's our competitor.
He's trying to be
so, with takes like that, we'll see where it takes him. He has Blazers edge and his whole corporate backing to prop him up. I'd love to have seen him try to do what we've done from scratch. I don't know, man. Like, this might not come across the right way to some of you guys, but I don't care. I don't like the dude. He says stuff like that. It makes it a lot easier to call him out because it's just absolutely ridiculous and dumb, in my opinion. And he's called us out on platforms before. The thing is, I'm not scared to say his name like he is scared to say ours. That just... If you guys can't tell, I'm really annoyed right now because that just pisses me off when people go at Nurkic like that. And it's just people that have never played organized basketball. And that's just another one of them. So, oh my goodness, man. Like, they're not even trying to understand where he's coming from. But because they said none of those things are issues, they can't sit here and say, oh, well, actually, Nurkic was right and I was wrong.
So, I mean... To say that they'd have to be man enough to admit that maybe coaching did have an effect on the team in previous years. And so all those people are in for a rude awakening when Billups completely changes the course of this team. But
I mean, yeah, I'm glad this is 2 hours into a stream that we're having this rant, because guys, let me just say this. I'm genuinely trying not to talk about him, but he continually says stuff that makes me makes it hard not to call him out on it. All right, so if you guys don't want me talking about him, I try. He makes it hard. Blame him. I really, really try. And it's the same guy that insulted us for saying all the things that now the team is echoing. All the problems that we said happened with the team that now the organization and all the players and Chauncey is basically admitting was actually a problem. He insulted us over us pointing that stuff out. That has now been confirmed by the organization and the team itself. And he was the type to call us an idiot and flat earthers and morons, and that's how he is. Neanderthals, yeah. So screw that guy. Anyway, rant over.
You mentioned it earlier.
Your mom told me to calm down, so I'll calm down.
He is a loser, according to my mom.
A loser? Yeah, he's a loser. Yeah, Sorry to Eric's mom. Sorry, I just get frustrated and annoyed with that type of stuff.
I mean, you hit it on the head. People who have never played basketball don't understand these kind of things. So
here's the thing: you can understand these things if you haven't played basketball, but you have to try and understand them. You have to try and you know what I mean? You have to, if you can't necessarily relate to a situation as a player, you can understand that if you try to. You know what I'm saying? If you aren't so caught up in your own opinions that you're willing to listen. You know what I mean? So that's the thing is people that haven't played, they can truly understand what it's like to be a player if they actually listen and try and see where that player is coming from. Because, anything a player says, you should be listening to it. You shouldn't be telling them, yeah, shut up, though. You're wrong. You're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about as a game of basketball. I know what I'm talking about. I've never played, but I know what I'm talking about. You don't, so you just need to shut up and play and be grateful. I mean, who are you to say that to him? Right? Sorry, I'm starting to rant more. I'm done.
But bottom line about Nurk, seems like he's gonna have fun again. He seems happy. He seems in a good place.
Yes, happiness.
And I think that Billups, even when things go wrong, I think Billups' temperament and the way he is just Nurk even said it. I had a conversation with a grown-ass man. He said, another shot at Stotts, right?
Yeah.
But, I just think that communication is going to be there, and it's going to put Nurk in such a better place, and we're going to see such a better version of him this year. Yep.
Yeah, I forgot the whole theme of this stream, which is happiness, guys. Mm-hmm. Happiness.
We did, I guess Cody Zeller was technically before Nurkic, I think, but...
He didn't say it. The only thing notable that he said was we're already a good defensive team.
That was hilarious.
We're optimistic going into next year, Eric, but I'm not gonna go that far until I see it. I mean, maybe it's just a situation where he was in the Eastern Conference, didn't see us play that much, barely played against us, and then he's been here in workouts and been like, wow, these guys playing good defense. Yeah. We're a good defensive team. I don't know. That's the only takeaway where it makes any sense to me.
Yeah. I hope that's the case because he's oblivious if he thought it was good before now. But he didn't have to play for Stott, so he wouldn't know, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot notable there. He seems like he's my age and looks like he's my age. Like he's an old man. He's only 27 or something. So.
He has I don't know what it is, but he has a distinct personality, it seems like. I don't know, where he's just kind of laid back and just kind of seems like a guy that's not going to talk that much and just be very he's very normal, too normal. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's probably a horrible breakdown, but his personality seems intriguing to me. So that's the thing with the new guys that we always bring in. Is what are personalities like? Cody Zeller and Tony Snell need a podcast. That's all I know. That would be phenomenal. Anyway, yeah, not much to talk about from Zeller. And then who was after that? Because the theme is happiness. Wasn't it Damian Lillard?
Yes, Damian Lillard.
Yeah, the theme is happiness, and Dame seemed pretty okay, at least. I don't know. People might say he's not happy, like they have said all summer long, which, I mean, he wasn't happy after last season. But overall, he seems pretty optimistic going into the season. More optimistic than a lot of people thought.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was funny because the first question was from Quick, and he said, "How do you feel about the roster?" And Dame
wow, before Dame had even sat down. That was funny.
Dame just started laughing. It was funny.
And then you have, okay, we're not Powell yet, but I felt like that guy that asked Powell that question tried to like recreate that funniness, and he basically asked Powell, "So why are you here?" Which was like, dude. I don't know. It was kind of funny, I guess. I don't know, but the media was trying to have some personality today.
And then Norm was like, "Excuse me," and he's like, "Why?
Why?
Like, why am I?" Norm's like low key funny.
I know. They must have a relationship. I mean, like, a player sitting down for an interview, and you're just gonna be like, "Why are you here, bro?" Oh, that was funny to me.
When Norm walked up to, they were like, "Oh, we didn't call you for media." And he's like, "Okay, I'm out then." He's like goofing off that he's gonna walk away. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because I don't think they did. Because they do the media stuff like after we re-signed them. So it seemed like with the guys. I mean, we did it with. Did we ever have a press conference for anybody we signed other than Norm? Just Norm. Okay.
We did have one. For Norm. Did we?
Yeah, just Norm. We had one for Norm.
He had that interview with like I can't even think of Beavis's girlfriend right now.
Bruh, don't say that.
That's a joke. No, he had the interview with Brooke Olsen.
Because she'll be like, what? No. Sorry, Beavis. Beavis is the biggest Brooke Olsen fan. Dude, it is my mission to set them up on a date. That's my mission. We're just trying to get the channel big enough to get noticed by Brickles and Dam so that we can set her up with Beavis, because Beavis is a wonderful human being and her biggest fan. So anyway, Damian Lillard.
There's 2 donos. Do you want to get those before we start?
Yeah, let's get the donos. Since I'm already off track talking about Beavis. I've been off track all stream. JM1231 $5 dono says, "Hey fellas, hope all is well. Thanks as always for the late night entertainment while studying." Smiley face, because the theme is happiness on tonight's stream. Thank you, JM, for the $5 dono. And then Alvaro, they stacked those donos together. Alvaro hits it with the $5 dono. He says, "Nachos?" ? One thing that was funny was when Nance highlighted how easy it was to score against us last year when asked what he thought outside looking in. That is something that we didn't touch on. Good dono, Alvaro. Appreciate Alvaro and Jam for the donos.
I did mention that, actually.
Did you? Oh, yeah. It must have been quick. I don't know where my mind was. I might have been reading chat. So.
But yeah, he did say you never had to worry about where your points were going to come from. It was like you just had to worry about stopping them from.
Dude, I would love for teams to worry about, like, okay, how are we going to score against them tonight? I would love to. Just please, man. I'm hopeful this year.
Don't have to. If they have to spend like part of their practice on both offense and defense instead of just okay, this is how we're going to stop Dame this game.
Yep. So Damian Lillard, his media day interview, probably the interview that everybody's been waiting for us to talk about.
So I think you're kind of saying it's still somewhat up in the air. I think Dame slammed the door closed today.
Wait, I'm saying it's up in the air with what?
With Dame, you said you weren't 100% sure, like, about it. Like him,
say that?
I don't know. You kind of made it seem like some people could interpret it other ways.
I think you're mixing it up because I don't remember saying or alluding to anything like that. Like, okay. like long term before his career ends, or this year? Like
after this year. Do you think it's still a question mark moving
I mean,
forward?
I don't think it's likely at all. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's impossible, but a lot of people are like, yeah, Dame's going to leave next offseason. But like,
Good night, Lewis.
I don't think it's likely. Even if we lose in the first round again, I don't. It's just Dame's character is not to do that. Is to see things through, no matter how bad they get, and that was a lot of what this interview was. So even if it's so bad that we lose again in the first round next year, I still. It's just when a guy is that solid and that, when a guy's character, when loyalty is such a big part of his character and he's so solid and consistent with his character, I have a hard time. I just have a hard time seeing it, so I'm not going to say it's impossible. I don't think it's likely at all. So I don't know. I haven't talked about that though, so I don't know where you got that from.
I thought right when we first started talking about Dame, you said something to that effect. I don't know. Maybe I just misunderstood you.
Chat, am I tripping or is Eric tripping? One of us is tripping right now. Anyway, go on.
I've been very firm with this. If Dame requests a trade, not only do you have to worry about like how are you going to get to the perfect situation without them giving up so much that they're worse or at best similar to us right now. So if you ignore that, like even if you think Dame will request a trade, it goes against everything he is as a person. And he said that today. He said, like, that's not who I am. I got reaffirmed that this was going to be, it's not going to be perfect. There's a lot of ups and downs. And then he said that he spoke with Draymond and he talked about when Steve Kerr got there and then he didn't mention this, but obviously looking at Giannis winning a title this year, and Dame 100% now believes he's back to believing that he can win here and that it can happen for him. And he even said it will happen for me someday. I don't think he's ever going to go anywhere. I think he's here for good. And I mean, unless something drastic happens to where he's unwanted by the organization, which I don't see, or if like there's just some devastating amount of injuries, maybe like similar to 2015 when we lost, all our starters other than Dame. I mean, maybe something like that could happen, but short of like just a disaster, I think when you compare something to marriage and you say like, oh, I fought with my wife but we always stuck together and look at us now, we get married and 3 kids and all that stuff. Like, it just doesn't seem like a guy who's gonna like then next season be like, oh, you know what? I was just playing last year about sticking through the ups and downs. See ya, I'm out. So I think this summer, just the fact that he had to sit there and listen to these made up rumors about him requesting a trade and all that stuff, I think those actually made him realize that he can't be the person he wants to be and also run from the grind like that. And I just don't believe that he will do that. And that doesn't mean you can just rest on that and be happy and not do anything in your power to make him get to that point where he wins a championship, because you have to do everything you can to make that happen. You can't just rest on your laurels and do that. But I just feel like he's locked in and committed back to us long term.
For Dame, a big part of the issue seemed to be like intentions within the organization to really go for it all. And that doesn't mean that, oh yeah, in order to really go for it all, you have to trade CJ. And people took it like that. And, it's just people like wanting to see that happen. So they were thinking that Dame is like saying that it needs to happen. It's wishful thinking that Dame really feels that way. I mean, going for it all, and Dame said this too, it's not just about making a move to make a move if it's not the right move. And like CJ and Rocco and picks for Ben Simmons is making a move to make a move, but it's not the right move. Absolutely isn't the right move, and most people can agree on that are at least within their sanity.
Well, on that one real quick, so he says you need to make a trade, and He specifically said you're not just going to make a trade to make one, and that so to me that signified that there were deals on the table, and he thought we were better off not making them. But continue.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just a situation where I feel like you got you upgraded the backup 4 and 5. You went out and got a coach that will really do his best to win it all, and I feel like Stotts didn't really do his best to try and win it all. He didn't change anything when our defense was horrible all year. He just kept running the same stuff, which screams to me that Stotts was just okay with trying to outscore teams despite having one of the worst defenses ever, which just screams not truly trying to win it all, right? And I think that the front office was really aggressive this past offseason. It's just like a guy like Siakam didn't get traded, probably wasn't on the table. A guy like Jeremy Grant probably wasn't on the table at all. And it's questionable whether he'd even be an upgrade over CJ. I don't think he's better than CJ. They just, maybe the positional stuff would sort out better. I don't know, but he probably wasn't even available. Like, who was the best player that got traded this offseason? Russell Westbrook. He wouldn't have fit here. Who's the next best player that's gotten traded this offseason? Who?
It was probably the sign-in trades with like DeRozan and
see, but that's like free agency because those guys are free agents.
Right.
So like actual trade, who's the next best player that got traded this offseason? Chat, let me know in chat. I'm trying to think of it.
I guess it would be the people. Well, Thaddeus Young, KCP, Montrezl Harrell. Like that's the level of players that got traded.
Eric, Larry Nance Jr.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's the. I have him above Thad Young.
I wasn't.
No, I know, but like that's my point.
Yeah,
Valanciunas is a good job, Suede. So Valanciunas was the second best player that got traded, but he doesn't fit here when we have Nurkic, right? So a point guard and a center. Kemba got traded, but that was a cap dump, and he's a point guard. Doesn't make sense here. Al Horford is a center. Doesn't make sense here. And I would say Larry Nance Jr. is better than Al Horford. So who's the best non-point guard or center that got traded this offseason? Who's the best forward that got traded this offseason? Larry Nance Jr. We acquired him. Right? Here's the thing. If another Western Conference team went out and acquired Larry Nance Jr., you'd have people screaming, oh, there's another Western team getting a lot better. But like since we got him, it's like, oh, yeah, it's an upgrade, but it's not enough. Dude, like the whole thing with Dame and... yeah, he's not going to be happy unless we make some big splash. I don't think Dame is unreasonable, and if it's a situation where none of those guys were available outside of Ben Simmons, and then Morey wants, half the organization for Ben Simmons, then Olshey did his best and ended up with Larry Nance Jr. And I fully believe that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you couple Olshey's comments about how he always involves Dame and communicates with him. Dame saying he was involved and he saw what was on the table and it wasn't, there wasn't a game-changing move. He specifically mentioned Kevin Durant. I don't know if he's going to get fined for that or not, but he said we're not going to go out and get a Kevin Durant. Like that's just not going to happen. He's realistic. He's not dumb. And the other players that were available, if there were, like I said, he probably felt like that he's better off without making that trade, all the assets we'd have to give up to get certain players. If you're meeting an asking price on a Ben Simmons, does that really make us a better team if we're giving up Rocco and CJ and picks and stuff, So, yeah. Just... I think he realizes, and he's been involved with the free agency every year. I think he knows how hard it is. But I also think that with that conversation with Draymond, he realized that he can still win despite all that. Like, they're still a good team, and they're like, why not us type of attitude.
Yep. So it's just a situation where it's like a lot of targets that fans wanted to see probably weren't available or weren't available for something reasonable. Ben Simmons. So it's a situation where Olshey went out and got the best forward that wasn't a free agent. All right, because as I said, I'm not counting free agency signing trades. The best forward that got traded was Larry Nance Jr. And we got him. And he fits perfectly. And it's what everybody said we needed. A playmaking forward that can defend and hit threes. Which is really hard to go out and get. It's not common, especially one who's also, like, athletic, too. And we went out and got him. And people want, it's just nowhere near now. It's just, yeah. Dude, I bet you Dame is thrilled to play with him. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, is, like, people, I don't understand. It's like, somehow Dame's unhappiness meant you have to trade CJ. With no extra context to that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Never agreed with that.
While we're on this topic, too. Oh, what do you know? Dame, before free agency, what did Norm say he did? He texted him saying he wants him back on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Dame do that if he was about to request a trade or was thinking about requesting a trade? Like, do you think he would go to Norm and be like, hey, I want you back on my team. I want to play with you still. And then Dame's not the type of person that would then be like, oh, I'm out. Screw you. You know, like,
sucker, I got you back here and I'm gone.
He's the type that would stay even if he was unhappy just because he said that he was going to be here to Norm. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, once again, another confirmation that those rumors were not true at all. And how many times did he say he's going to go out on a shield? I mean, that's, we know that he's that type of person.
Yeah.
And he said he was going to do it. So I don't see any way he would contradict that in a year from now or whatever.
For some people, apparently he didn't close the door enough. I'm not even going to go into that more because I'll start ranting. But
I mean, he's not.
Anyway,
he's not going to come out and say I'm going to be in Portland forever. He's just not going to lock himself into that because, I mean, that's how you get yourself in trouble, and he's just not going to. But I mean, he basically said everything about it without saying.
Yep. And even in the things he did say, he pretty much closed the door. I don't see how anybody can even question that unless they just are hoping for chaos at this point. Like, I can see some Laker fans and some 76ers fans saying, oh, well, that doesn't mean anything. Of course he's going to say that, so he's a future Sixer or a future Laker, crap like that. Fans of other teams that aren't paying attention and are used to getting stars, at least with Laker fans. Like, that's the only people that should be saying anything like that. And even they have half their fan base saying it's ridiculous. Like, you go on forums where there's Laker fans that actually know basketball and 76ers fans that know basketball. They're saying, yeah, Dame's going back and Dame's loyal to Portland and it was a pipe dream anyway. And yeah. Because that's literally what it's been all summer long, and it's funny how you have some fans of this organization, some fans of the Portland Trail Blazers that try and act like that's not the case. I don't understand it. I never will. Shout out Caleb Pendergraph for the $5 dono. He says, how can you say Nance is the best forward traded when Lakers legend Kyle Kuzma was traded this offseason for Russell Westbrook? Sarcasm. That's funny. I appreciate the $5 dono, Caleb Pendergraph. I had trouble just saying that sentence because
Kuzma and Westbrook.
Kuzma.
Yeah. I mean, he might, maybe now that he's away from LA, maybe he can, be a different player. I don't know, but
no, he'll be like, I don't have LeBron in my way anymore. Now I can play like the superstar that I am, and he'll go out there and shoot like 40% from the field and 30% from three, shooting 20 shots a game.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's different. I don't know, but he's not the brightest guy. If you pay attention to some of the stuff he says, he's not the brightest guy, and I think that translates to the court too, where he just does not realize his limitations or how he should play to fit a winning team.
Yeah. And then Dame also mentioned, I thought this was interesting. This is as close as he's ever going to be to bashing Stotts, but he said sometimes you just need a fresh start with new ideas, and that the new staff will make things different automatically just by being different and just by hearing different phrases and stuff like that, which is what I've been saying all along, that once he gets in with the new staff and starts learning some different ways he can play and doing some different things with the same. It might be the same team, but you're doing things in a different way. That he's going to be re-energized, and this is going to be something that he's going to completely buy into.
Yep. What other quotes you got from
And
him?
then he also said that he has never had an issue with accountability, and he welcomes it. So
Yeah, I don't. Has people questioned that?
I mean, there has been the cases of, well, Stotts can't hold him accountable because he'll, like, I don't know, he has to want it himself or whatever. But yeah, you know.
I mean, I've heard a couple people act like, Stotts can't hold him accountable because you can't piss off Dame. As if Dame would get pissed off from that. Yeah. I've actually heard people say that, now that I think about it. Yeah, it's... Dame's...
You gotta let Dame do whatever he wants.
Dame's not a diva, man.
I know.
Like, come on. This is Portland fans saying this.
I mean, you can't... I don't think you can be as big of a star as Dame is and be less of a diva in my mind, like, right? It's hard to think maybe Tim Duncan. I don't know, like, there's very few examples of players that are that good at what they do and have that little of an ego and are willing to do those sort of things. So, yeah.
Yep.
But that was pretty much it from Dame.
Cool. Who else do we have?
Norm was next.
And then Ant, and then Nas, and that's it.
And Rocco, yeah. But those were all really short, so we don't have to really talk about them that much.
Yeah, just toss out whatever.
Norm, well, we already talked about how Dame texted one of them back. He also said CJ did. We talked about he met with Billups and Olshey several times before free agency, and they kind of explained his role to him. Something we didn't talk about with Billups is that I guess he was involved in the free agency process and getting some of those guys to sign. And he said he likes accountability because he doesn't mess with excuses. And by holding people accountable, you take away all the excuses and you just tell it how it is. And he prefers that way. And he also compared the versatility of this roster to the 2019 Raptors title team he was on. He said it was very similar in terms of players that can do different things, multiple guys that can step up and do different roles and score or play defense and stuff like that. So
it just comes down to being a good enough defensive team. Like, if this team's a top 10 defense, they're a contender. Because offensively, they're a top 3 offense.
Yeah.
So, and it's about like being at that level in the playoffs and having your style of play translate more to the playoffs, which I think will play a better style of basketball, which will be more conducive for playoff success. So it's that'll happen, in my opinion. And then it's the defense being good enough, which we have to wait and see on. And if it's a borderline top 10 defense, we're a contender. It's that simple.
Yep.
So
I agree.
What else? Anything?
That was pretty much it from Norm. I mean, he said a bunch of the same things that everyone else said.
Yeah. Was Ant next?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ant looks ripped. Ant looks strong. Like, compared to where he came into the league, I don't know. He looked like... I don't know. He looked like a guard that you wouldn't call skinny anymore. He looked pretty strong. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the way he's sitting. I don't know if he's trying to make himself look stronger the way he was sitting. I could maybe see that being a thing. I don't know if it was the new sleeve he's rocking, the tats he's rocking.
CJ made a joke about it.
Did he? What did CJ say? I missed that.
It was kind of hard to hear him, but it was something like... Ant looks bigger, but he ruined it with a tattoo or something. Like, yeah, I don't know.
That's funny. Yeah, because CJ's a guy who's not tatted at all, right? So
I don't know.
Is CJ tatted? CJ isn't tatted.
I don't know.
I don't think he is. I mean, maybe he's tatted somewhere we can't see. Let's just stop speculating. Ant looks bigger. That was my biggest takeaway. Is he looks strong.
Well, he said he was. He was like, someone said you look bigger, and he's like, "Oh, thank you."
Ant's funny. Ant's like a normal guy. He's just a cool guy.
He seems so much more relaxed.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, I don't know.
Like, he's grown into himself.
Yeah. Like,
as a person at the NBA level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he knows who he is. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
He just seems so much more comfortable, and
Seems like he feels like he belongs. You know what I mean? Like he has that confidence in himself now.
He was also so polite too. Like he was being really nice to all the media and stuff. And that's what overall today. I mean, I don't know how you can get like a better group of people just in general. I mean, minus the whole allegation thing, just in terms of everyone's like the way they handle themselves and all that kind of stuff. I just think everyone is super nice and polite, and I just really like that whole aspect of good people to root for.
Yeah. And is maybe more than anybody on the team just comes across as just like a humble, a humbleness, but like believes in himself and is just confident in who he is, and is just a very normal guy. And I don't know, like he's the type of guy I feel like you could talk to off the court and just be completely normal. And even with like good guys on the team, you probably wouldn't necessarily get that feeling. So that's something that I like about him. He's a seems like a really cool guy. Yep. And I mean, he's in a fantasy league with you, yeah. So like with some Blazer fans. So I mean, that's that's just the type of guy he is. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's never like acted like all conceited or anything in that league either, and he's willing to like talk a little crap with people, and yeah, it's kind of funny, but
like in a fun natured way.
Yeah, like just like you're going down this week, type of thing. But yeah.
Anything else he said?
No, he's just basically said, I wish he did kind of mention what he wanted to improve on the most, or what things he had been working on. I don't think he mentioned defense, but he did mention like playmaking and getting to the basket and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, and he touched upon like how Chauncey thinks that he'll have an easier time attacking the basket in his offense than he did last year, basically in Stotts' offense, which is something that I've said. That was another thing that I've said that was basically confirmed today is in an offense, I don't remember what the exact quote was, but basically it was in the offense that is predicated off of ball movement and player movement. Anthony will have an easier time slashing and attacking the basket than he would last year. And basically the whole thought process is he's not Dame or CJ in terms of like attacking a guy one-on-one off the dribble yet. So if you're moving the ball and he's catching the ball and the defense is attacking him from the side, and defenders have to run him off the three-point line, so defenders are going to close him out hard. He shot 42% last year. If the defender is closing out from the side, it's easy to drive around them. It's easier to drive around them than if they're closing out from straight in front of you, where you don't have like a lane on either side of them. So that's something how ball movement could shift the defense away from a guy like Ant. The ball could get back to Ant, and he could either have a catch and shoot three, or a driving lane and be able to attack instead of having to break down a guy one-on-one in isolation like Dame and CJ had to do all the time. So that's the thought process behind it.
Right, and then when he did get threes, they were often contested too, and obviously he hit a good percentage about him, but if you can get him slightly better open threes and get that percentage up even just a little bit higher, that's even better.
Yep. So Nas,
he
looks slimmer in a good way, yeah. And I saw a clip from practice where he is just look explosive, man, and he's reportedly slimmed down 10 to 12 pounds. That wasn't from Media Today. Media Day didn't talk about that. It was in a Jason Quick article. That was something interesting going into next season. But other than that,
yeah, I mean, they asked him about his thoughts on the vaccine since he actually had COVID last year, and he said that was the right thing for him to do and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think they asked him the accountability question too, which I asked everyone, and he was all for it as well. I think it's a good sign that he was one of the 9 people that was interviewed today. I think
Chauncey did say on Rip City Radio that he expects Ant and Nas, he like specifically mentioned both those guys. He said they're both young, but he expects them to have big seasons.
That's awesome to hear. I love hearing that. Thank you for sharing that. I need to listen to that one. But I don't know, between that and them first saying he was going to play in summer league, and then they have a few practices, and then they're like, he's not going to play summer league. I just feel like he's already proving in practice that he's legit, and I I think we wasted an opportunity by not forcing him minutes in the previous year, to where he could have possibly been someone who helped us become a better defensive team, and he can do so many things on offense. So I feel like he should have gotten more of a chance last year. Maybe that would have helped us. Famously, he earned the backup shooting guard spot, and then the next game after he says Stotts says he's the backup shooting guard, and he's earned it through his play and practice. Then he played like 4 minutes or something. I mean, another person that's probably wasn't very happy with Stotts, and I think we're gonna look at him this season and be like, dang, that guy is for sure at minimum like bench wing that you can count on, and I think he's got a much higher ceiling than that.
He'll just work in Chauncey's offense. He'll work in transition when we run more, because I expect us to run more. Same with Ant. A lot of these things apply to Ant. He's athletic, so as a lob target in the half court, you can run a backdoor lob for him. You can have him as a cutter. Like, he should excel as a cutter, especially on design cuts, because he's quick, he's strong, he can finish around the rim. It's just a situation like he's not a one-on-one player, and our offense was so predicated upon one-on-one that if you got a guy like him in it, he would get parked in the corner and would get some spot-up threes, but then, like, what else is he going to do? Get tack one-on-one? No, but if you're moving the ball and giving him driving lanes to attack, he's going to make the most out of those. That's more his game, is just straight-line driving right now. And then he'll get his threes. I think he'll shoot the ball decently this year. But as a cutter, as a transition threat, as a lob target that you can run design backdoor lobs for, as a guy that can straight line drive really, really well at this point, I think, if you give him the driving lane, Chauncey Billups' offense will work for him. He will have a good year next year. I am extremely confident about that. It'll be another Neil Olshey second-round draft pick that has a big season, a big third season. The third year is when Neil Olshey's second-round picks have good seasons. It happened with Pat Connaughton. It happened with Alan Crabb. Gary Trent Jr. did it a little bit earlier.
That was the first-round pick.
End of first-round pick, early second. Yeah, I don't know, man. You're right. But, like, Ant last year had a good season. You're right, I'm tripping. But, like, there's a third-year jump that happens
so
with a lot of players.
Next year?
No, not him. not him. But, like, everybody talks about, like, sophomore leap, but I honestly think, like, as a sophomore law player, start getting spot minutes, and that helps them figure out what they need to work on. And then as a third-year player, that's when they get the consistent chance and can really build and take a jump. And I think that'll be Nas. This year. So, yeah, I just forget anywhere I messed up. He's going to have a great year this year.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Like, I put Giles in the same category. Often people would say, oh, yeah, he's got skills, but look how lost he looks on defense. Look how out of position he is, all that stuff. Well, if you have good coaching, that's what you're supposed to fix. And if you got the guy that skilled and he's just learning how to be in the right spots and he looks lost, like, that's when you want to give that guy minutes to learn and do proper film study, call out when he makes mistakes, and eventually he does learn. And that's why I said by the end of the season, he could have been something a lot more than he was last year if they just properly did that. But I don't feel like they did. And so once again, I feel like Chauncey's going to give him a chance, and he's going to come in, and if he messes up, Chauncey's going to be like, this is why you're not playing, you're not doing X, Y, and Z, and then he'll either do those things and earn his spot back and keep those minutes, or he'll pout about it and stuff. I don't think he will, but like those are your two options. And then like go to the bench and just lose out your position to someone else. And I don't think he's going to be like that. So I think he's going to blossom under someone who actually teaches him how to do it right instead of just being like, oh, I can't play him. He looks lost.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm confident in him going into next year. You ready to move on to Rocco?
Yep.
This has been a long stream. I'm sorry
Yep.
to lose the mind a little bit. So I don't know if Andrew Miller's still in here. Apologies if he isn't, because he asked us a question on Rocco. We said we'd get to it, but we did not plan on going this long. So this will be on Spotify. If you didn't catch the start of this, I will upload this to Spotify if you want to like re-listen to some of this, especially if you missed the start. So stay tuned for that. But Andrew Miller had a question that I want to answer. It was with a dono. He said, was that guy trying to get a reaction from Rocco about offensive touches? Like, does everyone not know Rocco's role? From his own mouth, he focuses on defense. Just curious about your guys' take. What is your take on that, Eric?
Well, I mean, Rocco said it himself, and I 100% believe him. I mean, there's some players you might not believe in that situation, but this guy, all he cares about is defense. He doesn't care about how many points he scored. Otherwise, he would shoot so many more shots if he cared about that stuff. So he said he'd hit the open shot, he'd shoot it if he's open or what if he has to, but he doesn't really care about that. He just cares about defense. And yeah, for someone to try and get him to like change his mind about it or like somehow change it to where he's like mad about it or something, that's just not how wrong. He seems like such a laid back guy. Like he doesn't give a crap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I like that attitude about him. Andrew Miller's
absolutely.
still here. Good. I'm glad. Andrew. Yeah. So he's a 3-point shooter. That's where the majority of his offense is going to come from. I think that having him just move a little bit more offensively will be a good thing. Cut a little bit more offensively. He's a guy that can finish around the rim if he's open. He's not a guy that's going to do a good job slashing off the dribble too much and then finishing in traffic. But if you're able to get him on a cut with some space around the rim, he can convert that way. So would like to see him use that way. And hopefully he can take a little bit of a step in terms of being a little bit more of a playmaker off the dribble. Chauncey has helped a lot of Clippers players do that last season. So, that's something that he can
early in the
work on.
offseason, he did say that that was something he wanted to improve too.
Yeah. So hopefully he's able to do a little bit more of that, but he's not a guy that's going to care about how many shots a game he gets or something like that. He wants to win. He and Larry Nance. It's nice having guys like that. Guys that don't care about shots. They want to win. They're confident in their offensive ability, but it's not something where they'll put their own offensive ability above what is best for the team. They're not guys that are super dynamic with the ball, so it's not a situation where it's like they're going to get frustrated if they only get 7 or 8 shots a game. That's something a little different with Nurkic, in my opinion. Nurkic is better offensively than either of those guys and more dynamic and has more skills that set him apart at his position. So I think that's where the frustration comes in for Nurk, because he believes in, he's just a different player and should be utilized like that to help the team, whereas Rocco and Nance are more glue guys.
Mm-mm.
They're more glue guys, and when you have glue guys, you just want them to fit in and complement what you're doing with your better players, with your Dame, with your CJ, with your Nurk, and they need to help account for those guys' weaknesses. So with Dame and CJ, obviously that's defense, and both of them do that, and then complement them. Rocco can shoot threes well. Career year 38% last year. Larry Nance Jr. 36% from 3, so he can do it too. He can cut, finish around the rim, and averaged 3 assists per game last year, so he can pass a bit. Hopefully Rocco takes a step that way. So that's the thing, is your glue guys, you want them to embrace that role. You don't want guys that will that don't enjoy being the glue guy and want to be the star. You want guys that will embrace their roles and embrace doing what is best to help the team win. And that's the type of guy Rocco is.
Yeah, I don't know if that was today from Billups, but it was recently where I heard him say like you have to have guys like that, um, and they have to know their role and they have to accept it. And if they don't, if they try to be something they're not, like a la Kent Bazemore when he was here in Portland, um, like it doesn't work and it ruins the whole complexity of the team. But man, I don't get why people think Rocco is an issue because in terms of that glue role player that you were talking about, I mean, it's hard to find a better player than Rocco in that role and that position. A guy who will get it done on defense and who you can count on to knock down the open shot if he gets him. And every team needs those guys. And I think we're really lucky to have Rocco because he's one of the best in the business at doing that.
Yep, 100% agree. So, anything else you wanted to say with Rocco?
No, just
all right.
Once again, seems like a good guy. Like everyone seems really nice. So.
Yep. So that's a wrap then. With this media day reaction, we'll have another stream Thursday night going live around 9:30 p.m., 9:45 p.m. sometime in there. That stream will be a lot shorter than this one. Don't know what we'll talk about yet. We'll figure out something. We'll probably just preview things we want to see in the preseason.
We'll have a couple days of training camp to hopefully have some storyline about.
So yeah, the length of these will shorten up. We'll have that stream Thursday, the last day of October.
September.
Or the last day of September. It's too late right now. And then next Monday, we will have a post-game show right here on Blazers Uprise Live. Preseason post-game shows will be here on Blazers Uprise Live. Regular season post-game shows will be over on the main channel Blazers Uprise. So that's how we're doing it this preseason, and that's how we'll continue to do it. So the first preseason game is on a Monday. We will recap that game, and then we'll have another stream next Thursday, and then the following week we have 3 preseason games that'll be all our streams for the week. Then once the regular season gets rolling, we will get these episodes of Blazers Uprise Live to 3:30 p.m. Pacific time start times instead of 9:30 p.m., and that's so we can do picks against the spread and all that. So that's on tap. Any questions about the schedule of these streams or anything? If you have them, put them in chat. I will try and upload more player previews. Just didn't have the best week last week, so trying to get caught up on those. So expect 2 tomorrow, 2 the next day. I'm going to try to do 2 a day so we can get caught up on them before the first preseason game. If not, I might have to do games afterwards, but I mean, it's not going to be a big deal. So we'll get those out. And yeah,
Mute that buzzer says, how about a few more hours to touch on other teams' studios?
Yeah, you go on a 24-hour stream? I mean, we're an eighth of the way there.
Let's just say the Philadelphia 76ers won this morning. I watched the whole thing with Doc. Funny. I watched the whole thing with Doc and Maury. Man,
how was that?
It was so awkward. Because every question, of course, was about Bet and stuff. But I give those guys props for sitting up there and answering every question. I mean, they kind of danced around some, but at least they sat there and took it. That kind of reaffirmed to me what the Blazers should have done when they hired Stotts and Billups, and just kind of got it out of the way, no matter how awkward or difficult that would have been. And the thing with them is this is going to be a storyline until something happens with Ben Simmons. And they were basically like begging him to come back at one point, but then also trying to say like they're good without him too and all that. So yeah, it's kind of funny, but Maury thinks that they have the best team in the league that also has all young guys that still have a ton of internal growth left in them. If that makes sense.
I mean, I see what he's saying. And
yeah.
I mean, like the best combination of win now talent and young guys with upside is basically what he's saying. I mean, you got Maxey there, but like other than that, what do you really have. In
Yeah, I
terms of
mean
young prospects.
they have some young guys like Thibault and
Thibault just doesn't seem like a guy who's going to like be much different. You know what I mean?
Paul Reed, I guess, is okay. Shake Milton.
I mean, you can say that about us. Then
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
shoot.
I'm just
like,
saying that's what he's going for.
That.
But like,
yeah,
Jaden Springer, I guess, if you want to include him as a draft.
I don't like his game.
But yeah, I mean, like every team has those level of players. Maybe not to Maxi's level, but yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
I mean, we got Nas and Greg Brown the third.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll put Trendon Watford up there with Paul Reed. So, yeah. He's kind of delusional.
Sure, you can throw Ben Simmons in there, but he made it seem like if you weren't including Ben Simmons, they were still like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And I heard Doc's interview was terrible from Rob, so... I don't know.
I mean, like I said, props to them for taking it, but yeah, they're in such a horrible position, and I don't know how they can go into the season without addressing the issue. Yeah. And they a horrible look, I think. I mean, I know why they did it, but they fined Ben Simmons today for not showing up to media day. So, yeah. That'll get him to change his mind, right?
I mean, he's going to be docked paychecks worth more than that. You know, like what he makes in one game is worth more than that, and he'll be docked paychecks by not playing. So, I mean, I didn't think too much about that. The worst thing from today was Brad Beal.
Oh,
that was the worst thing from today, bar none. This was one of the more entertaining media days, man, with the Ben Simmons stuff and then the COVID stuff. Bradley Beal's interview was real bad. And I'm not going to talk about it because I want to side off here and don't want to open up that can of worms, but my goodness. Right. And then you have Robin Lopez saying that he didn't watch or see the Milwaukee Bucks championship, so he's not sure if it happened, and he needs to do his own research, which is like a shot towards his teammate Jonathan Isaac.
I know, I was like awkward. No teammates.
Rolo on that team is fun because Jalen Suggs is his rookie, which I love. I love that Jalen Suggs gets Robin Lopez as his vet because I love Jalen Suggs. Robin Lopez said something about like he's gonna have rookies by I don't know. There's like 3 different magazines,
like National Geographic.
Yeah,
yeah.
So a couple other magazines, and they were all gonna like have like a book club, basically a magazine club, whatever you want to call it, and they were all going to talk about what they read.
And no, like you can't be in it.
Yeah. So I want to, if he actually makes them do that, I want to be a fly on the wall for that one. But yeah, so you had some entertaining moments, you had some bad moments. It's funny how Dinwiddie, at least I read on Twitter that he kind of took a shot at Beal by saying that he said he was vaccinated and said some like no drama over here or something like that.
Well, Trez took a shot at him too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
some to the effect of, I got my shot because I'm not selfish and I care about other people or something.
That's bad when your leader is doing that. That team is not going to be successful. I was thinking maybe they could be like a play-in team, fringe playoff team. I am now, when you're leader and your role guys, I mean, maybe it doesn't end up mattering, but it's just you're already off to a bad start. Dude, training camp hasn't even started, and you're already off to a bad start on media day.
Well, at least with Washington, they're not. I mean, technically, as long as he doesn't test positive, that he can play in all their games. Whereas with Wiggins and Kyrie, man, are those guys really going to sit out half the season? And if they do that, like, how does that work? Like, would the teams even want them at practice for the rest of the games? Like, I don't know what that's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, so. Anyway, anything you want to add to this? I'm going to hit a quick outro.
Let's get outro. Thank you everyone for watching. We appreciate you all, especially those who turned in
for 3 hours. I'm cutting you off because I can't even think right now. My bad. Yeah, shout out to you if you watched the whole thing. I was not prepared for a 3-hour live stream, all right? So, shorter ones, especially once like games get going and we have post-game shows. The Blazers Uprise live episodes will be shorter. When we're back to 3:30 p.m. start times, those will be like 45 minutes to an hour with picks against the spread. And then whatever preview or NBA news is on tap for the day. So, looking forward to that. With that, that's going to be a wrap for this episode of Blazers Uprise Live. If you didn't catch the start of this will go up on Spotify probably tomorrow. I will upload that around noonish will probably be the goal. So you can definitely listen to the start on the go if you want to on Spotify. Other than that, Eric, we good?
We're good. Good
We're
stream.
good.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Appreciate you tuning in.
Yep. Thank you for watching. We're out of here. Time to go to bed. We'll catch y'all later. Peace out. Go Blazers.